to make payments to the estate. I bought two houses, I bought land that way over the years. When interest rates were 18% to buy a house, I bought a house at 10% land contract. Yeah. But you had to put, in those days, you had to put more down. You had 25% down. And you could get the house repossessed. You miss 2 payments, they take it back. You lose your down payment and everything. So it's riskier.
Not as forgiving as the bank.
Right. But that was typically low closing costs, that's for sure. No commission to a mortgage company.
Hello, is anybody on the phone?
It's what we always did when we were young kids. Looks
Oh,
like
yeah,
you got a lot of tan. You made it on vacation or what?
Well, no, just gardening.
Oh, okay.
Probably next to my white shirt too. It looks stands out. What have you guys been doing?
Okay.
A lot of golf. A
Golf.
lot of golf.
I'll answer what I can.
Brian, did that work?
Thanks for your patience.
John, this is the legal weed market, is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's saturated, wildly contaminated.
Yeah.
Did you see that lady that interviewed with us, that company went under?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you usually call that?
She was a
Oh,
controller.
right here at the.
She knew what was happening.
They were a Pennsylvania company.
Yeah,
At St.
Or Canadian.
John's, yeah. It's called the
Canadian.
Cardinal.
right.
Cardinal. Yeah. It's called the Cardinal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they went to something. Like
Are you ready? Or is there some
Oh,
technical?
okay. Yeah.
I'm looking for the packet.
So let's wait till we get.
There it is. I'm ready.
Ready?
Yep.
Well, I know you have my hair.
Call to order, Charter Township of Plymouth. Board of Trustees, regular meeting, July 22nd, 2025, 6:33 PM. Roll call?
Trustee Buckley,
Here.
Trustee Clinton,
Here.
Supervisor Kermy,
Here.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Here.
Trustee Groth,
Here.
Trustee Stewart. Clerk Borba, here, we have a quorum.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, approval of the agenda, we need a motion, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I move the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
Second by Groth, all in favor?
Aye.
And next, we're going to have to move the minutes up to C1.5 because you were absent last week, so you can't vote for it. So this would be for everyone except for Trustee Groth, only because she was absent at the time. I move for the approval of the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Public comment, limited to 3 minutes on non-agenda items, including the reports, are considered non-agenda items.
I'm Dale Bernhardt. The board just approved the current township bills. My comments are directed for future appropriations through 2026. In the board packet, page 80, is an entry for Plymouth Township to pay Risen Christ Church $150 this month for electronic equipment storage. Below this entry is a notation, 12 months at $150 per month. So there is an obvious desire by Clerk Vorva to pay this fee for 12 months and probably into 2026. I've discussed this fee with the board in the past. I feel we have the ability to find free storage. But the bigger issue is Clerk Vorva wants to keep the equipment there because last year we paid Risen Christ $50,000 to host early voting. I can imagine Clerk Vorva wants to pay them $50,000 again to host 2026 early voting. The job of this board is to be good stewards of paid taxes. This voting site fee does not show good stewardship. 5 reasons why it does not. Number 1, $50,000 is way too much. I have found better facilities willing and able for less than half the $50,000. Number 2, Risen Christ location is not centrally located. It is at the southwest corner of the township. Number 3, Risen Christ also hosts a children's school which is open during voting hours. Number 4, candidates and their supporters have a democratic right to hold signs and campaign not closer than 100 feet from the voting precinct entrance. 100 feet on the west side voting precinct entrance is in the road easement. Number 5, it is my understanding that the number of our precincts may be reduced to 6 from 12. It makes sense to determine the early voting site when the number and locations are solid. So I'm asking the board to pull our electronic surveillance equipment now from Risen Christ, put it in free storage, firm up the precinct locations, and do not approve giving 50,000 taxpayer dollars again to any facility that hosts early voting, knowing there are better and less expensive locations. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was my phone. That I thought of.
So anyone else with non-agenda comments? I think that you're probably here for that. All right.
Hi, you guys know me. You shouldn't. I live in the updated East Lawn neighborhood, also known as the Toll Brothers Development Driveway. So first of all, I want to thank you all for being here and pretending to care about the residents of Plymouth, the people you work for. Just a reminder, back in February, I was here telling you about the damage to my houses in my neighborhood, cracking. My house is luckily only in the ceiling and the walls, but my neighbor has her floor cracking. That's structural, don't know if you know that. You said you'd look into it, but I know you don't care, so nothing ever happened. Anyway, today I'm here about the construction in my neighborhood. They redid our road. Oh, super great. And I'm sorry, there's no other way to say this. It looks like shit. They spent months redoing the road, adding drains, curbs, allegedly regrading what's there to be better. My sidewalks still flood. That was the biggest thing. They're not gonna flood. In the winter or summer, doesn't matter. They do. The grass seed, weeds. The road already has 2 patches that look horrible. So it's already starting off on a horrible integrity for the road. There's tarp marks, there's rough sidewalks, and my new driveway that I paid for myself has splatters of concrete all over it. And some of the sidewalk has splatters of concrete that they did not replace. But that's just what we should expect for the almighty Toll Brothers to have their development. Anyway, I talked to Philip from Spalding, and before that, Joey, the project manager, whatever he is, and I was basically told that, yes, this is horrible. It could be better. And I should just be happy that I don't have a dirt road anymore. Why? They told me my neighborhood is too flat for these engineers with their PE license to fix. And yes, the curb's higher than your sidewalk, so it's going to flood. But like in the summer, your grass is going to drain. But what about the winter when it's frozen? It probably not going to do anything. They lowered the road 8 to 18 inches, but the curb's still higher, like I said. So I don't know why these engineers couldn't fix that and work with our neighborhood, or pick better contractors. It's embarrassing that I live in Plymouth Township, which is supposed to be a really nice area, and you guys are allowing this to happen. And just being like, oh, well, talk to the contractor. It's just, I know you didn't approve it, but it's your problem now, and you need to do right by your citizens and fix the problem. Come through the neighborhood. It's shit. I'm telling you, it's horrible. I'm sorry, but there's no other word to say. Thank you.
All right, I'll do a little comment, and then Spalding to Decker, who is here. You saw me out there throughout the building.
I'll tour you and point
Right.
out all
So, just let me talk. The engineering optimization of the lay of the land, which was flat, was the optimum they could do because the grade of some of the homes is low. So they had to balance the grade of the house and potential flooding with the road. So a lot of engineering money went into it. The patches are there because there was some problems with water pooling, so they fixed them. The damage to your house, I am disappointed. I was assured by Main Street and Spalding to Decker in February that they would be handling a claim. They're going to do that now. They're coming to visit you on Friday.
Not for that.
Well, you'll be able to talk to them about anything you want. So also the value of your house will rise. It'll be easier to sell because you have a paved road. So that is the one big benefit in addition to the flooding. It's not flooding, it's pooling. And with the sand there, within an hour to two, it will go down. But in the wintertime, that will be an issue. It was never part of the scope to repair all of the sidewalks. The scope was and it was all negotiated. I was not part of it. I voted no against this project, but now it's in my lap, and it has been since the day I took office in November. So Spalding to Decker will also answer some of the detailed technical questions in a layman's terms when they're out there, and if you have another one, they'll answer it right now.
I have new sidewalk, and mine's flooding, so I can't wait for it to crack. And my driveway is splattered, I'll free over it.
Well, that could probably be scraped off. You could probably ask to have that scraped off.
No, they should never have done that in the first place. Just like they should never have had patch our road, because they used the cheapest, worst contractor they could get. Embarrassing for Plymouth Township. Embarrassing. Come out to the neighborhood, all of you.
I drive through it almost every day. It's on my way
Point out
to work.
everything that's horrible that they're not gonna fix.
All right,
It's embarrassing.
Spalding,
All be embarrassed.
all right, Spalding, do you have anything to say that's short, specifically about submitting a claim, which has been a do loop, and I witnessed that, because it's very unusual to collect for that type of damage to your house. Very difficult to prove.
I believe the claim was addressed through Phil, and he asked her to send her claim, and he would forward it to the contractor to Main Street.
There's no claim, he just wants pictures. There's no form.
Okay, send the pictures, or you didn't do it in February? All right, you already did it, okay. Anything else to talk about? Specifically the pooling of water on the sidewalks, which is a difficult challenge.
The pooling of water, I believe, was caused as the road commission added gravel to the road over the years, it raised it up more and more. So a lot of the water went towards the sidewalks, and what we've done is we've lowered the road, so we've decreased the drainage area by approximately 1/3, so there's less drainage to the sidewalks. And it'll always pool a little in the sidewalks temporarily. Throughout the township that occurs. It's a common occurrence. And it's partially due to, over the years, as people mow their lawns and leave the clippings, over the decades, the ground gets higher and higher. I think that ground is probably 3 inches higher than the sidewalk. Photos will show that the sidewalk hasn't been sinking over the decades, but the grass has been building up higher and higher. My own lawn is the same way. I've lived in my house 35 years. So.
Is it working now? Okay.
Was there any consideration for scraping some of the road off?
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they lowered it from 8 to 18 inches.
Wow.
Hundreds of loads
Yes.
of taken out of gravel.
And put in storm sewer curb and gut, there was no ditches previously. There's no drainage in place. It was substantially a road improvement project. And some things were done to improve drainage, but the goal of the project was road improvement.
The goal of the project was to have Toll Brothers have a driveway, which people do speed through our neighborhood. So when it opens up, the kid's gonna get killed one day.
Toll Brothers never wanted that road through there.
Well, it is though.
But I know, but other people were involved in that. Wayne County didn't want it. Toll Brothers didn't want it. Some people who sat up here wanted it.
But I got a new sidewalk. I know you keep saying old sidewalks. My sidewalk is brand new. And it's not puddling. It's like muddy. Like there's inches of water that's it. The winter, what's gonna happen? Because that was the promise is you're not gonna have the frozen sidewalks anymore. I really wish I knew.
Yeah, I wish we had a fix for it, but I don't anticipate any fix.
So you guys don't care about this?
We do, but we're locked into a contract that was let many months ago, and it is the state that it's in. It looks great.
It looks horrible.
Let's talk about the grass. The best time to plant grass seed is in September. Well, that was one of your concerns also. You didn't mention it today, but the weeds that are there, it's called crabgrass, and that sprouts at late July. And that will be taken care of in September when the best time to plant grass seed is. But I'd urge you to mow it at least and water it for the seed that's there. Give it a chance.
It's watered away. The seed.
All right, so on Friday, Spalding to Decker is going to be out there.
Yeah, I know.
Did they give you the time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Pardon?
1 p.m.
1 p.m. All right. Okay, I'm sorry you're dissatisfied. Fortunately, you didn't have to pay anything out of pocket, but
I don't want anyone to pay a dime for any contract.
all right. Any other comments? Thank you for coming today. Any other? All right, let's move on to the next item, which is going to be, we're going to talk about, I want to get your input, the board's input, on the idea of selecting a consultant to give us some hard data to make some decisions on generally 3 things: staffing levels, HVA performance and relationship, and what is happening, analyzing calls or runs to see why the call volume has moved up, what is driving it, is it binning errors, is it people aging in the community, was it freeway construction, don't know. So I'm going to draw lots here to see who goes first, because we have people on Zoom. Do you think we can, how do we get them on, how does it work, Bob? Are they already on there?
Yeah, they're on.
Here, Jerry, pick a number. Drum roll.
And the number is?
It's CPSM, Joe Pozo, Center for Public Safety Management.
Joe, are you there?
Yes, I am, Supervisor.
All right, introduce yourself. Everybody can hear in the audience.
Okay, sir.
You have about 15 minutes.
Okay, all right. Just one question. Am I allowed to share my screen for a PowerPoint, or would you
Yeah.
like me to go over it?
Sure.
Why don't you go ahead and try, right now you're in an infinite loop, but go ahead and try and let's see what happens.
That's the one. Pick multiple.
Where's Bob Jenks? Okay. Bob, we may need your brains.
If we can't, sir, I can just, I can move along.
Well, let's take another 30 seconds and see if we can solve
Okay.
it. Better to do it right the first time.
Yes, sir.
Our IT director is here and he's going to give it a shot.
This is infinite loop. I didn't try.
About up on view up there, top right.
Let's see.
Joe, can you try to share your screen?
I don't have the menu on my end. That I think is the problem. It could just potentially be just the way the Zoom meeting is set up.
That's odd. Normally you can share your screen in Zoom.
Yeah, you can, sir, but I don't have your menu in front of me to do that.
Host and panelist.
Yeah, he's a panelist.
He's a panelist. He should be able to share. Right click on him and see, make sure he's a panelist.
Joe Pozo at the top.
Oh, right here.
Promote him.
Promote the panelist.
Yeah.
I think you might have promoted this. Oh, no.
Patience a little more. Maybe we'll get lucky.
There you go.
There you go.
We can see you, but we can't see his screen, right?
Okay, well we're gonna try. Okay. How about now?
Yeah.
So do you remember what we did?
We just hit buttons until it started working.
Okay, all right. I'm Joe Pozo with the Center for Public Safety Management Board, and Supervisor Gurmy, thank you so much for having us in this evening to present our proposal to you. I'll look a little bit to the left. That's my other screen, and that's where I have my presentation set up. So who are we? We are the Center for Public Safety Management. We are affiliated with the International City County Management Association. In fact, we are their exclusive provider of public safety technical assistance. We have provided more than 450 fire, EMS, and law enforcement studies in 47 states in Canada. We do many, many things. Really, the backbone of our processes include data analysis to determine workloads, response times, and resiliency of certainly all of our public safety studies. We do strategic and sustainability planning, police and fire chief selection. In fact, today we just finished a fire chief selection in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. Standard of cover studies, which I will propose this evening, risk assessments, and really any fire and EMS assessment or law enforcement assessment that a client may want. We have a lot of experience in Michigan, which includes just in the last 3 years, City of Battle Creek Fire and EMS assessment, City of Midland and Larkin Township together fire and EMS assessment and potential consolidation of services. Cities of Northville, Plymouth, which included an analysis of HVA or Huron Valley Ambulance. City of Saline, again, included an analysis of Huron Valley Ambulance. City of Sterling Heights, where we just completed a standards of cover. City of Fenton, and the City of Mount Pleasant and Union Township. We have a current engagement right now with Farmington Hills. It's a strategic plan for their fire and EMS department. So our proposal this evening is a standards of cover. And so what's a standards of cover? Well, it's really a comprehensive planning document that is used by fire and emergency services. And really, it is to take a deep dive into service delivery performance. response standards, resource deployment, community risk, and as you will learn, depending on, whoever does your study, community risk really is tied to staffing and deploying fire and EMS agencies across the country. If you understand what your community risk is, which includes buildings, social determinants of health, which drive EMS demand in any community, environmental hazards, et cetera. So all of those things drive demand and certainly drive how you staff and deploy your service. It also serves really as a data-driven foundation for making operational decisions and certainly improving public safety. Tied to our standards of cover, which are tied to any standards of cover across the country, it doesn't matter who is doing the study or the analysis, is a data analysis where we take a deep dive into, again, response times, workload, which is very important. We'll look at the workload of Huron Valley Ambulance as well. And then what's the resiliency, right? So resiliency really is the built-in piece of how does the fire and EMS agencies recover from 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 calls, and how do they absorb those calls, and how can they respond to maintain public service? So what's our methodology? Well, we will interview key fire department and township officials. We do a lot of engagement, certainly, with the fire and EMS departments. We will do that for you. I think an important piece, again, is Huron Valley Ambulance. We have done a lot of work as a firm with Huron Valley Ambulance. I know Carl Rock, the operations manager. I just worked pretty closely with him on a project in Saline, and as well on other projects we have done. And so, again, we want to look at the current state of the agency, all the hazards, response and deployment analysis, delivery of EMS ground transport, which I know is a key item in this study. And, why is the demand gone up, right? What is driving that new demand? And so certainly when we do our community risk assessment, we will do a deep dive into an EMS community risk assessment, which includes looking at all the social determinants of health, which includes access to health care. Certain age groups drive EMS demand. What your poverty level is, and who may be on, need nourishment and food and transportation. All of those things drive EMS demand up for the people who certainly do not have access to all of those things. So that's a big EMS demand driver. So we include that in our community risk analysis. We certainly will get data and information from both departments, right, or both agencies, Plymouth Township Fire and EMS and HVA. We'll look at their National Fire Incident Reporting System, EPCR reports, CAD data. We have worked with the CAD systems in Wayne County, in the Detroit area exclusively. So they know CPSM. We know them. So it's very easy. We know the data that we're going to get. We're also going to do an on-site visit, right? So we'll be there in person, hold in-person stakeholder meetings with certainly Plymouth Township Fire, HVA, and then certainly with board members if so desired. So key elements, again, of a standards of cover community risk assessment, right? Where we'll look at all the risk and make determinations on those and provide analysis back. And then we link that back to staffing and deployment of fire and EMS. Service area and demographics, as I said, we look at all the population, unique challenges that you may have in your community, building risk, and again, social determinants of health. And again, one of our backbones and the backbones of what we do is our deployment analysis, where we look at all the stations, apparatus, personnel. We look at station distribution in this study. We look at resource distribution in this study. And it includes both the fire and the EMS agency. Because the EMS agency is staffed a little differently. than the fire agency does, which is a static deployment. The MS agency is more of a dynamic deployment. So we'll take a deep dive into that and see regionally what that effect is on Plymouth Township. We look at response time goals. Response time is important. It's always a measurement in fire and EMS. And we benchmark all of that against national standards such as NFPA 1710 in the case of Plymouth Township. What we also benchmark against 1710 and other national standards is staffing, deployment of resources, fleet, and things such as that. Future planning, we're certainly going to give you recommendations on adjustments perhaps to resources, staffing, station locations based on projected growth and changing community needs. All of that is included in a standards of cover. Our project timeline is about 180 days to draft report back to the township. And those are just all of the different categories and how they benchmark out, right? So we always do a project kickoff with the primary stakeholders, initial preparatory meetings, then we get going on our gap analysis, right? So we collect all the CAD and RMS data from the fire and the EMS agencies. Then we will deliver a workload and response time and resiliency data analysis to the township to review and provide input back. We will certainly do internal stakeholder meetings, right? We develop all of that, and then we come out and we do a site visit. We spend 2 or 3 days on the ground. We get a feel for that as we go through our project. Then we go into and we develop the operational fire and EMS standards of cover, give you a draft report, give you time to look at it, review it. We're not perfect, right? So there's nuances in your community that we may miss, and just in all of our discussions and data collection. So we give you a chance to look at it, review it, and then provide us comments, and we clean the report up, and then we deliver a final report. All along, we have progress meetings, stakeholder meetings, and those are virtual, just to give you updates or to talk about project issues and challenges or to clarify information. Final report is laid out along the standards of the Center for Public Safety Excellence, which is the accreditation agency for fire and EMS across the country. So when we do a standards of cover, we follow their program and their report layouts, because many communities that are in the accreditation process or are planning to get into the accreditation projects, the standard of cover is a document that is required. So we follow their format, and that's all laid out there as on the screen. So we become your team, right? Our team is your team. We work with you very closely from project kickoff to final delivery of the final report. We're here to assist you, certainly. And we have a great team. We have a lot of expertise, particularly in Michigan. We've done a lot of projects there, so we're very familiar with Michigan fire standards, Michigan EMS standards, and the like. And as a strategic partner for ICMA, we prescribe to those same ethics standards and have been and certainly have been recognized by that organization as the exclusive provider of public safety services for them. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Before we start, everybody, will you please turn off your mics, because there is some feedback that allegedly is happening. Don't know what it is.
Question. So I didn't see any financial analysis as one of the elements of your scope. Was that's out of scope?
No, sir. I saw in the agenda package that you have our proposal.
Yeah.
So I just thought you would have that. I didn't get into it. I'll certainly go over that with you. We have a standard fee that covers.
No, that's not my question. My question is financial analysis relative to recommendations that you would make for staffing models and.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will include any analysis that you so desire, okay? Standards of cover typically doesn't have that. And we were operating on a scope of work just through discussion with the fire chief. However, financial analysis such as if we make a recommendation that you add an additional ambulance, or if we make a recommendation that you add additional staffing, we certainly will provide in the recommendation what the cost of that additional service will be. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions? We could come back at the end if we need to.
Have they done one for Plymouth Township before?
They did the one, ICMA, the former company that they spun off from, did the study in, what was that, 2004, 2005?
10.
Was it that late?
Yep.
2010.
It was just before the divorce with the city of Plymouth.
With, so they were the ones that did that, that study.
And per their recommendations, how did that pan out for the township?
Well, I don't think it was recommendations, but but the city made a decision to go off with Northfield Township, so that's when we split off. But it wasn't because of a recommendation that ICMA made. It was because the city decided to do that because frankly, they said they couldn't afford to continue the way that we were going. And there were some personality conflicts at the time, too.
Yeah, we didn't treat them like a customer or a partner, so that's kind of a losing way.
Who, the city?
Plymouth Township
Oh, Plymouth
did not
Township.
treat Plymouth City like a customer or a partner. Usually you'd pick one or the other, right? We picked none. All right. And the drum roll. Public Consulting Group, PCG, Steve Noble and Sarah DeCiccio.
I don't have either of them. What was the first one you said?
Noble is the last name.
Oh.
There we go. Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Very good. Yes, I don't have the controls either to share my screen, much as the previous.
Yeah, let me see.
We're going to try to duplicate what we did. We pressed buttons until we were successful.
Excellent. Sounds outstanding.
What was it again?
Makes it more sporting. Bobby may have to rescue us again.
What did we do? We made him a
Promoted
panelist.
somebody to
We
the.
promoted him to panelist.
Yeah, right.
Promoted. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah.
Where's he? Go to panelists.
Wait a minute, I'm
'Cause
sharing.
you're the only panelist, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm sharing. I need to unshare. Sharing is
Yeah,
good.
You can't share. If you're sharing.
I know, but I need to unshare here. Made him a panelist. No, not Noble. Steve Noble
Yep,
is a panelist. Steve Noble will be rejoining the webinar as a panelist.
He's got an answer.
Oh,
There he goes. Now he's good.
So they have to leave and come back in.
Yeah, he's gotta click on the button.
Okay.
There you go.
How are we doing? Can everyone see the screen now? Nope. Okay, they can't hear me.
Go ahead, Steve.
Hello? Testing?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just making sure everyone can see the screen here. Okay, very good. Thank you everyone for having us. I have a partial team here assembled, but we can't all get on screen. It's myself, Steve Noble, and Greg Wayman. We're the two subject matter experts that would be partnering on this project given the opportunity. So we are from Public Consulting Group, looking for this great partnership with Plymouth Township. So Public Consulting Group, we are a national fire and EMS consulting team here under an umbrella of a very large organization that's a Boston-based, that's been around since 1985. They have four major sections of work that PCG does, but we are under the health division, and then public safety consulting is where we fall into that. My name is Steve Noble, as you can see there, be the subject matter expert on this. I come from the fire service. I did 26 years in Tucson, Arizona with Northwest Fire Rescue District, a fire-based EMS agency that did multiple conversions from third-party vendors to in-house ALS to full transport services. So I've been through several conversions with EMS in the fire-based world there. Greg Wayman is with me. I'll let you speak up, Greg, if you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Oh, sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Wayman, as Steve said. I retired after 27 years from the Memphis Fire Department, started there as a firefighter paramedic, finished as the chief officer for the Office of Emergency Management for the city of Memphis within the Division of Fire Services. I actually have a little extra background in EMS. I started as a private service, worked with a hospital-based service, and then moved on to the Memphis Fire Department, where we had a fire-based first responder and transport service.
Very good. And you can see a couple other team members that are listed that we're actually at a senior retreat out here, and they're in a working session as we speak. But Chief Ken Riddle comes from Las Vegas Fire. He's a project advisor. He's had 30 plus years of consulting experience, and Caitlin Edwards would be the project manager. So our experience, as you can see here, that projects, I don't know if that's on your screen blocking that. There are 24 states working on 3 national projects, 100 plus years of collective SME experience amongst our group here. We do have full-time fire and EMS providers, board members, industry contributors, experienced project management, being Greg here especially, and Caitlin being project managers, financial and analytics experts. That's what our group as PCG brings along with us, is the vast amount of experience we have with data analytics, financial analysis, financial predictions with actuarials on site, and all of our financial team that would work on that. So the proposal of this project is really just, we keep it very simple. We're coming along the side beside you, I should say, working hand in hand to support this operation. We would be working very closely, probably starting off from kickoff with weekly meetings with the project team from Plymouth Township, any internal, external players that be a part of that on a regular basis. Provide actionable recommendations. Ultimately, everything we're going to be doing is benchmark against national standards, but what it comes down to is we need to benchmark and evaluate what works for Plymouth Township and the Plymouth Fire Department and the community, and really align those capabilities with the community growth and their ultimate support of what the community needs are. All of our reports start out with a demographic section that we will outline everything from community vitality to population trends to the social demographics. And then what we do is when we get into the data analysis, we benchmark those across from each other, much like the previous presentation had said as well. And then we start coming up with those actionable recommendations. So the scope of work, we're going to start out with a comprehensive staffing analysis, not just for the operation side, but for the administrative side as well. Really, we want to come along and say, how does the Plymouth Township Fire Department operate? Are they heavy administrative? Are they light administrative? Can they not support the operation side effectively? Is operation side understaffed possibly, that we're not meeting the standards or meeting the needs for the community? Evaluation of the performance of the current EMS transport model. We want to look into especially the HVA system component and see where there's gaps and where those are identified and how those can be filled also with Plymouth Township personnel, potentially even maybe taking over an EMS transport service down the road. Detailed review of the EMS call data. So what we like to do, we'd like to minimum have 3 years of call data. 5 years would even be better, that we can start identifying trends, start looking at call volumes and call types. And we really want to identify down to the granular level of what actually is happening. Of course, that includes response times, but we break down the data into calls per month, calls per the day of the week, calls per hour. And that just helps us identify any additional staffing levels, because there are opportunities to upstaff or downstaff based on those trends. Analysis of dispatching protocols and procedures. We certainly want to look at the entire system as a whole, not just the components of the fire department, but going back to even the dispatch side of things and seeing if there's any analysis or areas of improvement from the dispatch. And of course, they work hand in hand, not just from getting calls out, but working in emergency incidents, and look at those policies and procedures and see if there's any gaps that can be identified. Want to go for an overview of succession planning for the department. Obviously staffing, but also recruitment retention was identified as a critical area to address. So we always want to look at that and look at any opportunities for growth within the department, opportunities for development within the department to help build that succession planning, and also that retention recruitment piece that we can bring personnel into the department in the future. Want to do a competitive wage analysis, see how Plymouth Township is doing with other organizations. That might be obviously a recruitment and a retention piece. Are we losing people, great employees, to other organizations because our compensation just isn't up to par? Or we might be above the trend as well. So it's something we'll definitely take a look at. Coming up with strategic recommendations, ultimately, for service delivery for the community. We do propose an on-site presentation at the final report to City Council and anyone else. If we need to do multiple, if the department wants their own union representation, we're willing to come on site a second time and do a final presentation of the final draft. Methodology engagement, we do propose those 2 on-site visits. One would be early fall, that we'd be coming out to do a full assessment of capital. We want to look at all the stations, all the apparatus, equipment, take a look at policy procedures, on-site meetings with staff, with council members. That will happen virtually as well. But having that one-on-one and face-to-face is critical, and having that real touch and feel of the department and the township is going to be a key piece to driving actionable recommendations. Department-wide survey. So we plan on doing internal and external surveys with the stakeholders, and this will just be an opportunity for them to give very candid feedback on very specific questions that we will drive, that a lot come from our interviews, and that will be part of the report. So that not that anyone gets called out, it'll be anonymous survey, but we give that opportunity for candid feedback that not necessarily you get always with one-on-one interviews. So internal, external surveys, and then that data analysis and benchmarking piece I was telling you about. Take a look at the strategic organizational documents, internal, external stakeholder piece, and pay plans. Those are some of the things that we'll be asking for to do our full analysis. Some comparable projects that were done by us and wrapped up just recently in Marion Fire Department, Iowa. This was a complete comprehensive assessment of the EMS system. It wasn't just the Marion Fire Department. It was more of a feasibility study for them. But what it was a breakdown of the entire county and the EMS system and all the providers that provide medical transport and all the dispatching centers. And really the similarity comes down to is what we plan on doing with Plymouth Township is including everything from dispatch, response times, protocols, internal, external stakeholder surveys, a full administrative operational analysis, and then a capital assessment that we would include with Plymouth Township as well. Marion Fire Department had 19 scope of work elements with 10 key recommendations at the final. Another project was Sandy, Utah. This was a complete administrative, operational, and capital assessment of their organization. They're a 5-station department just south of Salt Lake City. Included in theirs was a little more extensive, some key areas of wildland-urban interface and their special operations. So we did analysis of their technical rescue and their hazardous materials. But really, we benchmark against their current strategic plan and identified any gaps that they would have with 5 to 10-year forecasting for the fire department with a staffing evaluation. And again, I mentioned the administrative operations and capital evaluations. We broke down all their EMS data into a granular level that was actionable to the level that we could tell them exactly what was happening internally in the department and externally with their neighboring stakeholders as well. That had 21 scope of work elements with 30 key recommendations in that project. And then Tybee Island, Georgia was actually very, very similar to Sandy, except for they're a 1-station department, very remote, so they had their own challenges, but it was a full operational, administrative, and capital assessment as well. They needed extensive policy and procedure evaluation, which we went through there. We also helped with the hiring of their new fire chief. We were involved in that process. That had 14 scope of work elements and 24 key recommendations, including recommendations to manage their huge influx of visitors during the summertime, being a remote island, a very desirable location in the summertime. Deliverables at the end of this is a strategic assessment report. You know, working closely with the team, that we'd come together and have a draft report and work through everything that final report and that final presentation. Involve a roadmap, probably a strategic planning and a master planning section at the end to help guide those recommendations. Station capital and planning tools would be provided and data-driven community line strategies. Our project timeline for this would be a 5 to 6 month timeline. We usually give a little bit of buffer in there. Oftentimes, if things get pushed, it all has to do with the data gathering. Sometimes it's hard to get all the data that we really want to make these recommendations. So if there's a little delay, we might push that all the way to 6 months, but we hope to do a 5-month timeline on this in a 3-phase section there. Our project initiation, stakeholder engagement, data analysis, and then the development and draft of the final report and presentation. Any questions for us at this time? We thank you for your time.
All of you had come from cities that are mid-sized to large. What challenges do you run into when you're trying to scale down your analysis to a smaller community where we, have to deal with a minimum staffing issue, but there's times when we could require 3 times as many people, but of course we can't afford to staff to the high watermark. So my question is, coming from large communities, and when you're doing your analysis, what challenges do you run into when you're dealing with communities of this size?
Excellent question. And the great thing is having national experience. And to give you a little more background, I've also taught nationally to organizations, a lot of hazardous materials, some technical rescue instruction, even some international. So I've kind of been everywhere from New York City, FDNY, to much like that project I brought up with Tybee Island, a single station department with very minimal staffing, 2 to 3 per day. So I don't want to ever call them challenges. I look to them more as opportunities. So yes, there's national standards, and we can bring out NFPA standards all we want, and say that you need 4-person engine companies and your response times need to be under X amount of time. But it comes down to being realistic. And that's why taking that wide view that we always do usually a county profile down to a city or township profile, down to a department profile, to drive that picture of the actual needs of not just a town, but all the surrounding communities. We take a look at all the neighboring communities and any working relationships that Plymouth Township Fire Department may or may not have, and opportunities to grow there to augment staffing and effective response force. So maybe Plymouth Township doesn't need to upstaff, but if we can get a working relationship with a neighboring agency, that we can get that effective response force. So these are just opportunities. And I'm not saying this is exactly what Plymouth Township needs, but we want to look at opportunities to effectively serve your community. And it's not necessarily throwing more people at the problem. Can it be part of the solution? Absolutely. But a lot of times there's opportunities. Are there volunteer opportunities? Are there call reduction opportunities, risk reduction within the community that we can say, hey, if we can implement other strategies and reduce all these fall injuries that you're going to at your elderly care facilities, we're helping the problem, right? And you're helping your community at the same time. So again, they're challenges, and that's just taking a holistic look through a different lens at not just the fire department, but at the community, and saying, how can we serve this community with the resources we have? And then, yes, if it ultimately comes down to you've been understaffed, you've been short-staffed, you don't have enough units, whatever that might be, it's coming up with a plan over 3, 5, 7, 10 years to implement that plan. Because we all know budget is a constraint with everybody these days. Even the large communities, the large fire departments, the large cities, it's always a problem. So it's coming up with a solution. So I hope I answered your question.
You did, thank you.
I have a question. My question for you is that I am attempting as a community member and a board member to understand what hiring your company or any company can do for us in terms of the issues that we face that we are not able to do for ourselves by analyzing data.
You know, that's a great question. And oftentimes we even partner up with other cities or towns that are very capable of not only analyzing the data, but breaking it down to actionable levels. Sometimes this is merely an opportunity to have a third-party lens look at and give the recommendations from an outside source, whether there's political strife between departments and cities, which we run into quite often, and they just needed to hear it from somebody else. And usually both parties in that case like things in the report and they don't like things in the report. So oftentimes that's the best thing, is getting an outside lens, getting a third party, getting the experience from Greg, getting the experience from myself, getting the experience from Ken, bringing it into this report and saying, hey, look, from our experience, not just from our departments we worked at, but from our experience working nationally, what might work for Plymouth Township? And working with your team, that's when the final report comes drafted together and we make sure these items not only make sense to you and they are very digestible by Plymouth Township and the Plymouth Township Fire Department, but they're actionable. And that's a report that you can take with you and not throw on a shelf, but open it up and use that master plan at the end and say, these are the steps we need to take. I hope that answered your question.
Other questions from the board? Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
We thank you so much for your time. Everyone stay safe and have a great week.
All right, number 3.
Are the questions just for the board or in residence also?
No, we don't want public
When
questions.
we deliberate later, people can talk.
Okay.
Stone Productions, Rich Marinucci. He's in person.
There's 4 total, right?
Yes.
In the flesh. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to make a very brief presentation. you have those slides, give a little introduction, give a little idea of how we approach various projects, and we're going to be open to any questions you may have. What is, we are local, we are Michigan-based, particularly southeastern Michigan, and our experiences are particularly in this area, but they also cover a lot of the country, and in some cases a little bit of international work. My partner Greg Flynn, who is the current chief of West Bloomfield Fire Department, was unable to make it here today due to a family commitment. But Greg has 27 years in the fire business, and he is very well read and very well versed in all aspects of the fire service. He is a graduate of the National Fire Academy Executive Fire Officer Program, and also the Naval Postgraduate School, where he earned his degree, master's degree. He also has served on the board of the Michigan Fire Chiefs, along with the International Association of Fire Chiefs Great Lakes Division as their Michigan rep. And he is well-traveled and communicates well, and still does a lot of work with a lot of fire departments in the state of Michigan. So, next. That's me, Rich Marinucci. I've got almost 50 years in this business. Those of you looking at this youthful appearance, I started when I was 7, so it gives you some idea of where we're at. But I've been in the business a long time. About 34 of those years have been as a fire chief in 3 different fire departments. I had an opportunity to serve as the president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and got to travel around to a lot of great places, meet a lot of wonderful people, and understand a lot of the fire service across the country. One of the things in my travels that I learned is that there's about 33,000 fire departments in the United States, and the issue is that if you know one fire department, that's exactly what you know. You know one fire department. There are idiosyncrasies, and you have to look at it specifically to find out what each one has to offer their communities, what their strengths and weaknesses are, how they operate, and so forth and so on. I also spent 7 months as the Chief Operating Officer of the United States Fire Administration on the exchange program with my fire department. I was recruited by the federal government to come in and try to address some of the issues they were having at that particular time. And once again, had an opportunity to learn from some wonderful people throughout the fire service and across the country. Next. What we want to talk about is we want to put the bottom line up front. What are we going to do for you here? We're going to look at what you do right now. We're going to evaluate it based upon common sense, realistic approaches to this. We're going to be very practical in what we do, and we're going to be very simplistic. This doesn't have to be a complicated program. We can look at it through our years of experience and look at it. We're going to evaluate your risk, what the willingness of the community is to put up with risk, what their level of service expectations are, and then, of course, the ability and willingness to pay for particular services. You have to have a strong understanding with respect to that. Across the country, there's fire departments from one station, minimal staffing, all the way up to the largest fire department in the country, FDNY, that has over 12,000 members. What happens in those particular cases is that there are different levels of risk and different levels of expense of what people pay for their fire and EMS services. And so it now comes down to talking to folks here in Plymouth Township to say, what is your tolerance with risk? And then how do we provide the best level of service with the funding that you're going to provide to match that up and to make sure that you're getting what you want. When somebody dials 911, they're having a bad day. Nobody picks it up and says, you know, things aren't too bad, you know, just send me a couple guys, I think it'll be okay. They want somebody to come fix their problem because they're having a lousy day regardless of what it is. Now, we on the fire service side might look at that and say, it wasn't that big a deal, but that's not how it is. It's how the people view that. They're having an issue, they're having a problem, they couldn't figure out who else to call, and so they want some help. And so how do you provide that to the level of the expectations of your residents? And that's what we're trying to match up when we do our evaluation. And the evaluation is not much different than what everybody else does. We're going to look at your data, we're going to look at your processes, we're going to look at your personnel, we're going to talk to folks inside the fire department, outside the fire department, anybody else you think has input that can be helpful to us. And then we'll mix that all together. We'll come back and give you some recommendations of different approaches to take. If you do X, here's the expectation. If you do Y, here's the expectation, so that you then, as the policymakers for your community, get to make those particular choices of what you want to do and how you match up your willingness to pay and where your funding comes from and how that matches up with your risk tolerance in your particular community. What you'll get from us is bone honesty. We have no other reason not to do that. We'll tell you what we think. But when we do that, we will be tactful and diplomatic in our approach, and we will be very respectful and honorable to you. And we'll also be open to any suggestions or any comments that you may have along the way, and we'll answer to the best of our ability as we go along. So we will also look at the national standards too, but with the recognition that it now becomes much more of a local decision. Okay, the national standards are just that, they're national standards. They can be used in a lot of different ways. We will mention them just because, but the reality is, what do you want to do in Plymouth Township, and how is that going to match up with what you realistically can do with the resources that you're willing to allocate to the fire department? So we're open-minded through the whole thing. We have no perceived notion, though we do have knowledge of this particular area of Southeast Michigan and also the state of Michigan, but we still look at each one individually as we go along. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
How do you analyze run data?
Well, there's a couple of ways there. You know, there's the pure way to do it when you look at it, and then there's the practical sense of when you can look at it from your experiences and you can evaluate what are you really going to. And again, this comes back down to your risk analysis and your risk tolerance nature. So we can look at the EMS side of the issues and say, okay, here's what happens. In most cases in EMS, if you have a very serious event, it's about getting the right amount of resources and the right amount of time to change the outcome. As an example, if somebody goes into cardiac arrest, you have about 6 to 8 minutes to get there and start treatment. If you don't do it, you're not going to affect the outcome. Okay, so we would look at it from that perspective. Do you want to look at it? The same thing applies on fires too. You have to get there in the time frame that is going to change the outcome and stop the damage that's being done. So we'll look at it from both of those perspectives. We'll look at it from the standards perspectives. It's going to tell you, okay, here's what the national standards say are going to do it. But then we're going to try to look at it practically and say, okay, what can you truly accomplish? And so when we analyze the data, it's going to be based upon separating out, here's what EMS functions are to be done, and here's the analysis of the fire side of the calls.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you for coming. He has a question.
I have the highest respect for your profession and for you, because I know that. Mr. Mayor, I spent some time at Lake Superior State. I gave a commencement address there. I hosted them in Lansing. Do you have the affirmative support of Chief Connolly, firefighters Smith and Tacoma for this study?
I believe we do.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be on the agenda tonight.
Correct.
If we know what the end goal in mind is. You've heard of the concept of begin with the end in mind.
Correct.
If the firefighters have done nothing else, they have proven that we need and may want more staffing. If we didn't have a study at all, could we take that fee and whatever other monies and hire 2 or 3 more firefighters in the next 3 or 4 months?
No. Could hire them for about 2 weeks.
Depends on whose fee you're talking about.
Rhetorical questions. But you are putting on record that you have the support of Chief Connolly and firefighters Smith and Tacoma, who have, you gave us 169 pages to leaf through.
He never said that.
And as I said, I have the highest respect for, and I love studies and data and all that. I worked for the Michigan Municipal League in Ann Arbor, personnel. So I just want to, put this on record.
But what on record?
I'm not absolutely clear what you mean by support from the chief. Obviously, I've talked to the chief and I've explained to him what we do. He asked me to send him the scope of work, which we did, and then he So we follow through. That's the extent of the discussion. I have not had any personal discussions with anybody from the labor side.
All right.
Do any of the three of you want to speak?
Not yet, no.
Not yet?
No.
Okay, okay.
All right, next is
Thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency Services Consulting International, Joe Powers, and he will be by Zoom.
So Joe, you have to leave and come back in. You've been promoted.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Awesome. And I am sharing my screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. Hey, look at this. The third time's the charm. We got this thing figured out. I appreciate Mr. Supervisor and trustees. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and present to you. My name is Joe Powers. I'm the Managing Director for ESCI, or Emergency Services Consulting International. I come from Virginia. I've got 27 years in the fire service before joining ESCI, mostly in a large metro department, and then I worked for a small or a mid-sized city before coming here in 2022. So, interesting thing, I really enjoyed listening to everybody else's approach to the project, and I think one of the key things to take away here is that there is not a single pretty box that we can stick a project like this into, and everybody's going to have a different approach to it. And I would love to, everybody that spoke today are some of the greatest minds in the fire service, and I love the fact that they're here trying to help your organization. And I would love to put everybody together and be part of the dream team with those great minds. So I mean, there's some really truly great people that have put some stuff up. So whomever you would choose at the end, you're going to really have the information that you need to move forward. But just like everybody else, I think we have a slightly different approach to the way that we would conduct your study. Obviously, our scope of work is relatively flexible. So as this project moves forward and you're looking for specific things, those can be kind of brought together. Quick little background on ESCI. ESCI is the consulting firm of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. We've been around since 1976. Started out in Oregon, helping small fire departments work regionally with other small fire departments to be slightly bigger fire departments. In 2008, we were purchased by the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and we've been the IAFC's consulting firm ever since. In 2017, we expanded and brought in some promotional testing industrial organizational psychologists to expand our divisions. We currently do some pretty major things. We work throughout the country and in Canada and in Mexico on master planning and strategic planning, working through cultural assessments with our IO psychologists, obviously doing some risk assessments and standards of cover like some other folks have talked about today, and everything that has to do with data analytics, ESCI as well, and included in that. And then obviously we're doing some executive recruitments and testing throughout the United States. At any given time, we have about 50 management consulting projects working, and also about 50-ish promotional processes that we're working through. We have 20 full-time employees, and they're mostly actually half of our full-time employees are located throughout the country, from Florida to Washington State, Illinois, and I'm in Virginia. And then half of our employees are out of our ESCI headquarters that used to be co-located with the IFC in Chantilly, Virginia, until they moved to Tyson's Corner and just left us all by ourselves to fend for ourselves. But we have two major divisions. Our human capital division handles our promotional processes and executive recruitments. Planning and strategic services division is working mainly on management consulting projects. And then we've got, because we've got these great minds on both sides of the organization, we do a lot of crossover projects where we bring in IO psychologists to help with organizational change and change management. In the region, we've got some great projects that we've recently completed. We were in Heartland, Deerfield, working on a station location study. We were in Texas Township a year ago with a strategic plan. We do all of Detroit's promotional processes. We're down in Dearborn with a master plan, and Morton Township with a community risk assessment and standard to cover. From a similar projects around a fire department evaluation, we have just completed within the last 12 months in Lafayette, Indiana, Newport News, Virginia, Shawnee, Oklahoma, and Shawnee, Oklahoma's project transformed into a partnership project with their EMS provider, which was React EMS. So we dove into the EMS side with that community, completed a project actually just a week ago tomorrow, completed a project in Aurora, Colorado, and then Lawton, Oklahoma, and Bethel. Exactly the same type of project. Obviously, all of our projects, are a little bit different because each of our communities are looking for, essentially have different questions that they're looking to answer. From an agency evaluation or a fire department evaluation, we're trying to answer one major question. Where is the Plymouth Township Fire Department today? And we're gonna do that by looking at a variety of things, and we'll kind of go through some of the individual phases and what that looks like here in just a minute. But from a team standpoint, from an ESCI team standpoint, I think it's really important to kind of know who the people are that are working, and it's not just me, and it's likely not going to be me because I don't have the background of a large fire or of a small fire department. My entire background is large fire departments. So we'll bring in a full-time project manager that works for us on staff that has that small town background. But before all of that happens, we'll hook you up with a guy named Chris, and Chris is out of Florida, and he's going to be your primary contact for the onboarding phase. Because in order to make a project really, really successful, we want to make sure that we have all of the information, or as much of the information as we can get up front. So you'll have a full-time onboarding liaison to meet with you a couple times a week, make sure that we're getting all of the information you need, and make sure you're getting the support from ESCI to move that forward. You'll have a full-time project manager. You'll have some contracted consultants, because we want to make sure that our team mirrors the type of organization that you need and has the skills, the knowledge, skills, and abilities to answer the questions that you're looking for. We have full-time GIS and data analytics on staff. So our data analytics and GIS program manager, Katie, she'll coordinate that with our senior GIS analyst, whose name is Trisha. And then we'll have Keith and Rodney working on that as well. And then Sarah will come in right at the end with developing the actual report and making sure that it reads well, it's well organized, and and obviously it's everything is spelled right in the punctuation. She's our English teacher that supports the entire thing. Our approach to this is essentially over 6 different phases. During that phase 1, that's where Chris, your onboarding liaison, will work with you and the fire and Chief Conley to get the not only the 3 to 5 years worth of incident data, but also some policy documents, some past staffing. We want to look at overtime usage and leave usage. We want to bring in all of the data that we can get from your EMS provider to be able to to look really closely at how HVA is staffing things and is responding. So we'll work really closely during that phase 1. The phase 2 is when, and depending on how quickly we can move through phase 1, 9 out of 10 times we can get through it within a couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But as soon as phase 1 is done, your project team will be assigned with your project manager and the contractors, or the other people on the team, not specifically contractors all the time. But your project team will then take a look at all of the information that's been provided, meet with Chief Conley, meet with your points of contact to make sure that there's nothing else that we're missing. And then we'll immediately move into phase 3. And phase 3 is where we have some in-person, face-to-face conversations with maybe some of the trustees, maybe the supervisor, labor groups, firefighters, the chief staff, and be able to not only just have interviews and focus groups, but also look at facilities and apparatus. And because what we're trying to do is like, hey, as of today, what does the Plymouth Township Fire Department look like? And then moving into phase 4, where it says the evaluation of current conditions. This is really the meat and potatoes of our project. This is where all of the magic really happens. We're going to do some in-depth data analytics with our full-time project or data analytics team. We'll dive deep into the EMS data. One of the biggest issues, and I heard a couple of the other folks talk about it, that it may not be that big of an issue, but one of our biggest issues working with third-party EMS providers is to create a good, solid relationship with them so that they're going to provide us the data. And within your local ordinances or your contract, we may be able to get the data that we need relatively easily. But we'll dive into understanding where the performance is, where the staffing is, how quickly you're able to get resources and staff to the incidents, and we'll look at that over the last 3 to 5 years, and then we'll also project into the future, what that could look like. Phase 5 gets into the recommendations. Here's where we're going to start working really collaboratively. I have a hard time talking today. Working really closely with Chief Conley and the other folks that are part of the Plymouth team to say, all right, this is what we're looking at, and how does this start to align with what you guys are looking for? And then obviously all of that goes into a draft report. Collaboration during that draft report development is really good. We want to make sure that we're not stepping on the wrong toes, but we're also providing you with an honest approach to the project. And then we'll provide you with a final report. And then depending on how you want us to present this back out to the trustees and the supervisor, we can make that happen as well. Especially since COVID, so many of our clients have opted not to do the in-person presentation at the end. They're looking for something a little bit different, but we're open to aligning with whatever your needs are and how your community wants to approach that. Our project timeline is about 6 months. You'll notice that phase 1 is kind of grayed out with a -1. We don't start our project timeline until we've worked with you to get all of the information from us, and we've provided you all the support that you need in order to do that. That way that there's a really clear expectation on when the timeline starts and when the timeline ends, and we'll work through that. Obviously, some things will pop up and we'll end up finishing very early. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but most of our projects we're ending on time or early. That's probably the fastest presentation I've ever done to a board. So I would love to have any questions that you guys may have, and I will see if I can stop sharing here. Perfect. There we go. Anybody have any questions?
No, the red light's on.
Yeah, so in your documentation, and you mentioned this in your presentation just now, you spoke about the evaluation of third-party ambulance performance, and the last sentence in that paragraph says, historically, third-party EMS providers have often been uncooperative with performance analysis studies. How will you work around that, since that's a major issue and probably the impetus to even having this study done?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. I think it's all within relationships, and I think that the first thing that we can work through is understanding what your contract is with HVA to figure out where the requirement, if there is any, for them to provide information for performance analysis. And if there's not, then it's working with them through Chief Conley and making sure that we create a good relationship. That what we're not trying to do is provide a punitive analysis. We want to make sure that we're providing good informed decision making support for your community, and how that performance from the EMS system is providing good service to the community.
And then second question is, how strong or to what degree are the boots on the ground, the firefighters, when they give you information, is taken into account in your analysis?
That's an interesting question. I think that it really depends on where so we work with fire departments routinely, and we have organizations that have really high morale, and the information that's being provided is right on par with being being a good contributor to forward progress. We also work with organizations that do not have good morale, and the information that's being provided to us is not helping toward progress. And that's where I think that when we start to have those issues, we bring in our our industrial organizational psychology staff and say, hey, what's the right approach to gather good, clean feedback from especially operational firefighters, which, on all honesty, I was an operational firefighter for a long time, and I understand, some of those challenges. If things start to pop up where we're starting to realize that maybe we're getting poor information, or we're starting to be played, which happens quite often, we can adjust our scope of work and say, hey, we'd like to do some member surveys. We'd like to do some additional focus groups. And when we do good facilitated focus groups and good facilitated conversations, I think we can get down to the down into the weeds and really understand what the true issues are.
Okay, thank you.
So what data analytics methodology would you use to evaluate runs or other data, for example, HVA data?
Yeah. So the in that scope of work, and I don't have it in front of me. I have to pull it up, and then I think that I'm going to end up I'll end up hanging up on your Zoom call. There's a whole service delivery section that would be we would run that for the fire department, and then we would also run it for the EMS department. So we're looking at not only how quickly does it take for a fire truck or an ambulance to arrive on scene, but we're going to also look at the concentration and distribution of resources. We're going to look at how quickly we can get a certain number of people to an incident, and then the data and charts is always a great thing to have in a report. However, I think that the best way to visualize data is through GIS, which is why we've got some really solid GIS folks, because when you take GIS, you're taking data and you're visualizing, you're being able to tell a story. And I always, when I was in the fire department and we would bring information and put it on a kitchen table of a firehouse and say, hey, can you tell me what this is without me actually explaining it to you? And that worked out really well for my board, so I could give that to a board of supervisors or a city council, and they would be able to do the same thing. So we have some pretty strong methodology on what we call our first pass of data analytics. And then once that comes back, we all sit down and we do it during the site visit and say, hey, what is it? What else are we missing? Are we answering all the questions that you're looking for? If not, then we take our second pass and we start to dive in very specifically around certain elements of performance. I think that's probably one of the pieces that I think, as a managing director of ESCI, I think that's the piece that I'm most proud of, is the ability to dive in deeply into the data analytics in a way that's easily understood. It's well presented, and we've got really, really solid people on our team, providing that those analytics.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you,
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor. Thank you so much, trustees. Thank you for allowing me to be in your community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the last one, right?
Last one, right. So we can take a few minutes here, let's say 10 minutes, and discuss a little bit about what we saw and what you think you want to do.
I think we saw 4 very good options. Very difficult to separate them. I liked, and I'm in my mind right now, I'm trying to make sure I associate with the right organization what I heard, but I like a lot of what I heard. I think, one point when you're building an organization like this that was spot on is you have to analyze your risk tolerance versus what you can afford to do. And that is one of the key questions that we're going to have to answer, is what level of risk are we willing to accept, given the fact that we don't have unlimited resources.
Yeah, I agree. Some people think we don't need a consultant. Does anybody think that I think you maybe don't think that we need a consultant, we could do it internally.
I think that we need to educate the public about how the fire department operates, because I don't think they understand it, and if they don't understand it, it's difficult for them to make decisions going forward.
I think these have to be board decisions. These are not public decisions.
I'm talking about.
This is why you're on the board.
Are we not, we don't have our mics on?
Mike.
Oh, red button, yep.
I'm talking about the fact that when our citizens don't understand what we have and what we don't have, as we move forward, if there ever has to be an issue of supporting a millage or whatever it is that we have to do, it's just much easier to do it when you understand what's going on. At that point, that does become a citizen decision, not a board decision.
Well, I do think the firefighters have presented themselves very well, and I still think there's not support there, so it would be good to have, an unbiased third party, if they came back and said the exact same thing, which affirmed what they've been saying, then I think, to your point, there would be more support. Okay, apparently we are very understaffed and we're at a high risk here. It's not just, Trustee Buckley running her mouth or the firefighters complaining again. There would be some legitimate support there. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I do like the fact that ESCI really honed in on the HVA and the evaluation of that. And I think that's, again, why we're here to begin with, is we're trying to listen to our firefighters and their concerns. And their concerns with the HVA. We're also going to have that contract up for renewal again. So probably about the time that this presentation is done.
Yeah. I think where we're at in all this, I think it's probably a good idea to have a third party. At the same time, Sandy, I think maybe some sort of survey of the public with information about the number of runs that are out there, how many people we have on. Maybe we can incorporate from them some input from the public. We do that when we're talking about master plans. We do that when we're talking about recreational plans. So maybe we can incorporate your idea with these people. They can help us with that. But I think where we're at right now, I think we're kind of stuck if we don't have a third-party independent group come in and give us an analysis.
And I think that we heard a lot of very good things tonight, and I certainly think that these people are capable of providing it. Overall, I have always felt that the public doesn't understand how the service is performed, and so I do believe that fact-finding and that explanation of how, people think that because I drive by a fire station and I see a fire truck and an ambulance, there's somebody there, and there may not be somebody there. And people don't understand that as we sit here tonight, any day there are 6 people on duty, which happens frequently. There is no first response of an ambulance to anyone in Plymouth Township who's in Station 1's area. We have to wait for someone to come from Station 3 or Station 2. Those are very basic logistic issues that I'm saying people need to understand. They don't know. And you don't want to find that out when your neighbor's having a heart attack and needs assistance, and all of a sudden what do you mean they're not coming from right across Haggerty Road? What do you mean they're coming from Station 2 or Station 3? People just need to understand how it operates. That's my issue.
So expanding on what Trustee Groth has said, I would like to ask if the firefighters accept the responsibility of inform, enlighten, and educate page in the next township newsletter, thus establishing a case for need. Because I hear from the firefighters all the time that they want to tell their story. So let's put it in writing. And I totally agree with Sandy. I think the modern day firefighter is doing a lot more, you know. I'll never forget a dozen years ago when Dave Fox had to educate me on what Narcan was. So I'm sure there's a lot more things going on today, but that's putting some substance to what Trustee Groth has suggested. The firefighters have to prepare a 2 or 3 page narrative for the newsletter to inform, enlighten, and educate. Thank you.
But how would we do that without causing fear?
Well,
Because
you're
that's
right.
been a point of contention, if you will, when the information is put out there, i.e. news reports, Facebook, there's been a lot of backlash that it's inciting fear. So if we put that in the township newsletter, what exactly is it going to say? Is it going to be like a doomsday report or, you know?
That's why we're hiring a third party.
Yeah, so I'm more on
because it'll have more buy-in.
inclination to go that way.
I agree with what you're saying, Trustee Buckley, because sometimes the firefighters are not the people to be delivering that information because in general, the public perceives that in a threatening way, in a self-serving way. You're right, Treasurer Dorchevitz, it's our responsibility to really let the public know what's going on, and using a consulting firm might be a great way to get that information out there. I just think it's really important that we be sure that we are educating them as to what the actual operations are.
So does anyone put a price tag on the table as to what this consulting study would cost?
Well, it depends on who you go with. It's
in the packet.
It's $20,000 to $50,000.
Am I hearing, okay, I just want to put it on record. Are we talking 300,000 plus?
No, 20 to 50,000.
It's in your packet.
$20,000 to 50,000 and 6 months timing.
For the study.
Well, I know the 6 months, yeah, okay, so you're talking 20 to 50.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the supervisor's recommendation?
I don't have one yet. That's why I'm going to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
And then
So-
we would
I
come
like
back.
the
We would
idea
come
of
back with.
ESCI, because we've gone with ICMA before. It's kind of like getting a second opinion. So now we can bring someone else in that's fresh, gives us a fresh perspective on Plymouth Township. Their pricing is moderate, so it's not the 2 top tier ones that have been presented on the table. So that's who I would recommend.
So ESCI was the 4th one for people's.
I might suggest
thinking.
that we shortlist, because I'd like to go back now and look at all 4 again when I have the time to digest a little bit more. I might suggest we shortlist down to maybe 2, and then have the finalists come back at a next meeting, and we can be prepared
questions,
with more questions, and then make a decision at the next meeting.
And we'd have a contract and we'd have to agree with. So all right, we'll do that. You have, I think the 4 here, you have one that has a lot of Michigan experience.
Right.
One that may be pro-union, one that is a fire chief slant, another one that is kind of middle of the road. So it's you can see, if you pay close attention, you can see some of the potential slant of each one based on where they get their money. And
Why don't you come back with your recommendation for us at the next meeting?
what we're going to what we may is shortlist it.
That's a good idea.
I would like to recommend that we also, as you evaluate shortlisting, that you look at people who are local, because they have a better understanding of the local market, the local area, with the local operations. When you're dealing with people from out of state, they know a lot of things about a lot of different places, but I think understanding where we are is important too.
So we only have one local one, so that would be an easy decision.
Yes.
So number 3 was the local one.
Yes.
The other side of that thinking is when you see things from outside your area, it provides some reseeding of new ideas. So there's always that's the other side of it. So, all right, we're going to take 5 minutes, and if there are any comments from the public. Now. You got to come up to the podium.
You've got somebody who's racing you.
Somebody what?
You were being,
Well, come on.
Don't take 3 minutes, I hope.
All right, no, I won't.
Be succinct and to
Dale
the point.
Bernhardt, before I make any kind of decision, I want to look at reviews. What's the performance of these companies? Do they have satisfactory reviews? 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars? Isn't that something that you would want to maybe look at first to see how their customers have rated them? Number 2, Sandy is absolutely right. I personally think they should have a local slant, at least understand local. They don't have to be here local, but have done some local work in Southeast Michigan. We have a lot of issues. We have construction issues, other special needs that affect run times, okay? And the other thing is I want to make sure that they are experts, not just in fire, but in EMS too, because in some of this stuff I'm seeing it's more slanted to fire. I want both fire and EMS. Thank you.
Hi, Bill Ikes, 12855 Hidden Creek Drive. 2 points I want to make, right? Of the 4 presentations, they're all good, okay? The 2 that probably know HVA the best, okay, and locally. Number 1, CPSM, who used to be ICMA, that did that study in 2010, okay? They were very extensive on police, fire, and EMS. Okay, they know HVA inside out. In the presentation, they very clearly showed the fact that they were just in Saline. Okay, they had worked with Sterling Heights, so they may have a nationwide presence that brings the fresh eyes perspective, right? But they know this community well. They were assisting the city of Plymouth as recently as 2 years ago. So another difference between the city, the township, what obstructs getting vehicles to and from. Second thing I want to point out here is when you go through that data, and the data is what drives every decision we should be making, if you go back to 2010, the runs at that time were city and township, right? If you look at the firefighters' data that they spoke to back in February, and that was Fireman Joe, okay? The runs had gone up by 7,000, and that was for the township only. So I struggle with how we have less miles, less houses to get to, and less area to cover, right? On how the runs could have gone up by 25%, okay? With the township only versus city plus township. And the data and the deep dive of HVA is key, right? God bless the firefighters, right? Love them, right? Will save our life. But I just want to point out that we may have 2 situations. We may have HVA doing a little bit of sketchy coverage at time. I don't know. The data will tell us. We may have the firefighters pumping and dumping, right? Because we had firefighters standing here saying, we always send an ambulance with the fire truck because more people is better. HVA doesn't have a fire truck going. They just have EMS. So we could have metrics, and that's why people that know HVA is so important, right? So all due respect, right? Local is always nice, but knowing HVA I think is key because it's those 2 entities combined and not separate, and it's the township only now. So we have enough data, and ICMA, who is CPSM now, they know this area inside out. That's all.
You might have misspoke. You said 7,000 increase. I think
Yes.
maybe you said 700.
No, it was 7.
We only have 3,700 runs a year.
You're right, Chuck. I was off by a factor of 10. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. It was a factor of 10, so it's 700. It's still 25%. So thank you for correcting me on that.
Okay, so we'll, attempt to bring this back next, August 12th, if we can turn it around that quick.
I don't think this is that hard of a decision that we can't make it tonight and get the ball rolling. It already takes 6
Well,
months to.
I think that Treasurer Chevitt has a good point. He wants to just look at this succinctly and carefully. And I don't think it's going to hurt us to all of us to kind of take a deep dive into all of this data, plus process these things. I have one that I like, but I would like to really think about it and hear have us rank the top two. All of us can individually rank the top two. Does that sound?
The intention was not to vote tonight.
No, just,
And
we can rank and then send the information to you or to Bob, or Bob's a good number guy.
So I see the union getting up. You guys, probably would be better to talk in the office. Would you rather do that than in public? In other words, be on our team. It's your choice.
Kevin, if we did a,
you want-
sorry.
Go ahead.
If we did a, offline, had everybody rank, rank choice, their, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, something like that. If we did that offline, are we running a risk of Open Meetings Act violation?
If you do it outside of an open meeting, yes. You cannot deliberate or vote.
But we're not deliberating, but we can just send information. What are my top two people? I haven't made a decision. If I were to select some, I would be those two.
But it's kind of like a polling, isn't it?
We do that with our, for our goals.
Yeah,
We don't have to send all, it'd just be
The
straight
top
to
two.
the supervisor.
If you do it,
for
don't make it
everyone
a
to-
group email.
Yeah.
No group email.
No group email.
Okay.
Send them to the
Okay.
supervisor.
So
Send them to the
send me what
supervisor?
your,
Yes.
Okay.
you individually send your comments. So the union president is here. If you want to say a few words, go for it. It's your choice. Just,
real quick. My name is Chris Smith. I'm the president, Plymouth Township Firefighters, Local 1496, and I just wanted to thank the board for taking this step. We talked about this a long time ago, and you had told us that your interest would be in conducting a study and learning more about it, and we do, to Trustee Stewart's point, we do support the study. So yes, thank you so much for taking the time and putting the energy in, for inviting the different consulting groups, and we look forward to working with you. So that was all. Thank you.
all right, are you done, Chris?
Yes.
You're done. Do you want to take a 5-minute break, or do you want to go on?
Can we just joke? We got just two more issues.
Okay.
They seem pretty.
Hold on, John.
John's ready for a break.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break, so that means we'll be back here at 8:20, just a little past 8:20, if we can do it. Back in session. Hopefully we didn't lose everybody. We lost some people. Okay. Now we're going to do budget amendments with Carol Rashan, our interim finance director. And that is item F2. Let's see if we can gather him up. Hold on.
You might be preoccupied.
I think he is.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, you got buttonhole.
Well, these are amendments to the 2025 budget. And typically a budget is a planning document. It is not always set in stone. It doesn't mean you spend the money. And so we make modifications when we notice that there is a fund that is going to exceed its resources and go over, which we don't want to do. That throughout the year, we make changes. Go ahead,
Okay,
Carol.
so we just have some housekeeping issues for the accounting department.
Is her microphone on and closer to her? Just getting closer.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first item on my amendment worksheet is we're just moving wages. When the last budget amendment was presented for the last quarter, there was an incorrect account number. So we're taking 14.6 out of the wrong account, which was the board part-time, and we're moving it over to the supervisor's office part-time. So we're just out of one department into the other.
And that was for our payroll clerk who's doing more HR things.
What page is that in?
Right here, it's number 173.
Okay, our next item, we have to do an amendment to the supervisor's office for training and development. When we put the budget together, we didn't budget any training, and Supervisor Kermey went to an MTA conference, so we have to increase the budget to cover those expenses.
Was that just mine, but it includes the books we bought for the planning commission, or
No,
did it
that would
include
just be-
anybody in the treasury's office?
Nope, they would have their own.
Just mine?
Just
All
your
right.
department.
All right.
Okay. We have some equipment that we need to store for elections, and that's $1,800 for the year. We realized after the budget was done, it was cheaper to store it in its current location than dismantle and move. So we have that item for police. They promoted someone, and there was a one-time sick or vacation payout. Also in police, we have a capital outlay item. They purchased some body-worn cameras and in-car cameras. We had originally budgeted $110,000. They thought they were going to lease at that point in time. It turned out it was a purchase. So the difference of $259,000, we need to increase that budget. They also had budgeted for Viper 911. That came in $5,000 over budget, so we have to increase with that. The fire department.
I'm sorry, could you go back to the police one?
Yes.
Excess over $1 million? I wasn't sure exactly what you meant.
The body-worn cameras?
Yes.
Yes, there was, body cameras were $239,000, and the in-car cameras were $129,000. We originally budgeted $110,000, thinking we were going to lease, and that would have been the first year's lease payments. So I had to increase the budget by $259,000.
To purchase?
Okay.
Because it was a purchase.
And they will explain that further at the next board meeting.
So the $1 million is total capital for police.
Over 5 years.
No.
I don't have the total capital number for,
So the 1,073,000 is what? That's the new, that's the new capital spending, correct?
Added the 259.
I added 259, so yes. There was an original budget of 814, we added 259, so their revised budget for the year is $1 million. Okay, and they will explain that camera purchase further at the next meeting. They didn't get, I put it on the amendment, we'd kind of got our circuits crossed, so I'm amending, they'll present next time, so you have the information that goes with that. Okay, the fire department professional and contractual services, there were some consulting fees for design of $3,300 that we had to pay. There will be no more fees for that. That has been put on hold, but this is the final amount of money coming through before that happened. The next 4 line items are for fire, for their vehicles. They've had some expensive repairs. We hope we have the budget up to cover everything for the rest of the year. But vehicles, you can't budget for, so sometimes things happen. They also had 2 firefighters that have passed away. They were retired, Frank Mothersbaugh and Carlos Moss. And we pay out, there's a certain years of the contract, they get a $2,000 death benefit. So we don't budget for death benefit, so as those happen, we go ahead and amend budget. And then the first year payment on the body worn cameras and the in-car cameras, they come out of a different account than the police account. So this is for long-term debt because there's a 5-year loan associated with that. So this is the first payment of $98,600. So the general fund had total appropriations of $446,000. The Brownfield Redevelopment Fund, MITC, had some administrative costs of $15,000. So we had to add that to budget. And then when we budgeted depreciation for last year, we didn't totally have all of the budget amounts, so we didn't budget enough for the EV chargers that went online. So we have to increase budget for DDA for $18,100 for depreciation, and also for the new buses and senior transportation. So that is a $3,200 increase to the amount of depreciation. Water and sewer, the DPW got a new camera system that was approved back in February. However, they didn't ask to amend budget at the time, so now we're amending budget to pay for those security cameras. Again, their depreciation needed to be adjusted. And then earlier in the year, they had to purchase, I believe it's a new card reader for the fuel. So as you go in and get fuel, you swipe your card, and that needed to be replaced. We paid for that out of the township revolving fund. So now we're paying back the township revolving fund. We try to keep $50,000 in there for emergency repairs. So we're going to build the fund back up to the $50,000 for water and sewer. On the other side of that, I have revenue. So there are some revenues to be recognized. The police department received payment of $40,000 for tuition for someone to go through the police academy. So therefore, we got the grant to pay that back. Last year, the fire department got turnout gear, and we received the revenue of the $80,000 that was part of that grant. MMRMA ramp grant, so the cameras that we already talked about for the police department, the body-worn cameras and the in-car cameras, they got $97,200 from MMRMA to pay for those. I have to decrease the revenue sharing for the golf course. That came in $43,000 less than we budgeted. And I have to book a long-term debt for the cameras. Technically, so they paid for it and took a loan when and there's an issue with how that was set up. So it is a loan. When you get a loan, you don't actually get the cash, it goes to the vendor, but it's recognized as revenue as an accounting function, so I recognize the revenue there. So the general fund had $543,200 in revenue, and then just township revolving fund, that's at $20,900, so it came out of the water and sewer department. We're moving it over to the revolving fund, so is revenue over in the revolving fund. So that is everything I have, all of the revenue and the expenditures. Any other questions?
I have some questions, if that's okay, Supervisor?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I have several questions, actually, and first I want to say, Carol, thank you, because your explanation covered some of the questions I have, so we don't have to ask those questions. One of the things that I wanted to know is, and you just mentioned it, Supervisor Kermey, that the payroll person is doing more HR function. So what exactly is the change that you've made? She went from
She got
how
a
many?
pay increase predominantly.
So it's not about more hours, it's a pay increase.
Hours probably won't increase much, there'll be some.
Okay, so she is assuming some of the role of
Yes,
the people that we currently,
benefits is one, and coordinating some pay studies.
okay,
Ecto HR is here one day of the week, but they're overrunning so this will offset some of their potential expense.
so that is something that we need to be aware of, that,
So who's doing that?
Graham, she's been doing it.
Oh, okay.
Graham.
Yeah. That's
Christine
her last name,
Graham.
Christine. We always call her Christine.
Christine Graham.
and I don't have a problem with it, I just want to be aware of the fact that Ecto HR is not doing, they're
Some of
not
that.
really available to do all the things that, so you're reassigning it.
Yes.
Okay. Jerry, just for clarification, you told me once, and I apologize, it's been a bad month.
I'm sorry.
The security stuff that's being stored at Lutheran.
Yeah, church, yeah.
Yeah, is it cameras?
Yeah, there's several things there. There's cameras, there's the recording devices, there's like the firewall equipment, the rack that's in there, all the wiring that goes in
Okay.
for the cameras and that. Plus, we are still using their property for the Dropbox. I mean, that's still on their property, you know,
Okay.
and so the $150 was to say, hey, can we just leave that there till we determine what we're going to do?
Okay.
As opposed to me ripping all that stuff out, along with all the, because when you rip the wiring out, you gotta repair.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was gonna cost multitudes or 3 or 4 times that amount. I mentioned it to the supervisor, he was agreeable to it, because he saw the rationale
Right.
of that. And so I'm pleased that people are looking at the bills, and I'm very happy about that. But it was less expensive to do it this way when we don't know where we're going to go. And that will be coming up in the budget.
Okay.
We have the budget discussions. I'll be making a presentation on what I think we should do.
Okay. So I think that there's been some misunderstanding. Some people have felt that we were storing voting machines and equipment, and that is not the case.
So this
is strictly security, that
electronics,
type thing.
cameras, and then of course we've got the Dropbox still sitting there on their property.
Okay.
And if
So you basically are paying them a fee to maintain that?
just leave it there.
Just to leave it there?
Yeah. no,
Okay.
And so that we don't have to pull it all out, because it would cost us several $1,000s to pull all that out, do any repairs to walls and stuff when you rent something.
Okay. I'm curious about, and Carol, you may be able to answer, or Chief Nightel, the payoff on sick time. There was a promotion, and there's a payoff on sick time. I'm just trying to understand how that works, like.
So you accrue, there are certain employees accrue vacation and sick time.
Right.
So he was promoted, and you get a certain amount of hours. When he was promoted up, he was promoted to an area that had less hours that he could accrue, so the amount he was over, that difference
You paid
was
him off.
paid out.
Okay, perfect.
He exceeded the cap.
I understand that. I did notice the creation of the 98,600 for professional, the banking service and fees, all related to the camera. So we're going to get a presentation next meeting about all of this so we
Yeah.
understand it.
If I can add, these cameras are being leased, so.
No, they're purchased.
Okay.
So that's the problem, is the confusion over lease. The auditors ruled that it's a purchase.
And I contacted the sales rep, and he said it's a purchase.
So that's what caused this machination.
Yes, so
there was
there
just
was
some,
confusion at the beginning. I don't know how the sales rep represented it, but it was felt they were being leased. At the end of the day, the sales rep said this is a purchase.
Okay. So basically, Chief, at the next meeting, you're just give us a summary of exactly what's going on, and, because I just see a lot of financial implications of these particular
Absolutely,
things, so I'm
yeah.
just curious to know.
Yeah, and we'll look at the agreement. It was a 5-year lease, and then we're not keeping this equipment. So an auditor decided that was a loan and not a lease, so I will have to look at that.
The
But
sales rep also said it
the
was
sales
a
rep said in
purchase.
the end, who owns the equipment?
He said the body cameras in 3 years will be refreshed. So no matter what, they're going to get new body cameras in 3 years.
That's part of the.
As part of the purchase agreement. The cameras in the cars, you can't just take in and out. So at the end of the lease, or at the end of the purchase in 5 years, they would be refreshed, and I assume they're the only vendor that does that. So you're going to sign another agreement with them, so they would at that time refresh the cameras there.
Okay, good. I have a question or a comment now based on what you said. I'm happy to see that we're kind of putting the fire station 2 on hold, and that we're not spending money, because one of the things I can say is in speaking to staff and firefighters, what I keep hearing is we don't need a new station 2. I mean, certainly there are some improvements that could be made, but even they are saying we don't need to spend all of that
We
money.
don't need to spend 10 million.
Yes, so I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad to see that you're kind of putting it on hold, because I think that's that's a financially wise decision to make, especially in light of the fact that we are looking at what are our needs with staffing, what's going on with the fire department. I'm just glad to see we're not throwing money at something that we maybe don't need but kind of wanted. Because there's a difference between the two.
We sunk about 180,000 into the design.
Yeah.
And engineering.
Yeah.
But we have those drawings are there.
Or we can sell
They
the
can be
design to
quoted.
someone else
They can
maybe
be
for
quoted.
180,000. And then I have a question. I did note the tremendous change in expenditures on vehicle repairs, particularly for the fire department, and I certainly understand, you've got to keep these vehicles maintained. They're functional, they're first response vehicles, so we have to keep them in service. My comment and/or question is, maybe when we do the budget, we're not being realistic in anticipating repair expenses for these huge capital items that we have to maintain. So I just wanted to make that comment.
That's precisely what happened.
Okay, yeah.
The reluctance to show the complete story, maybe, and then, there is you can play a game where you come in with a low budget and then amend it up.
Right.
Throughout the year.
Right, and I just would like, they're substantial, the changes, so I would just like for us to be aware of that so that we can, and I know you never know all of it, but it'd be good if we could be a little better prepared for that type of thing. And then the depreciation and amortization of the electric vehicle chargers. At one point, Supervisor Kermy, you made a comment about maybe we need to look at what we charge for that, because maybe we need to be a little more competitive, and I know that this is depreciation and that's something different, but it brings the subject up if that's something that we need to be looking at in the future.
Right, we have a cap. Allegedly, we're supposed to break even, but the definition of break even is not completely clear. I raised the price 20%, went from 26 cents to 31 cents
Okay.
in January.
Okay.
Bob handled that
Okay, thank
So
you.
we may look at it again because people are finding it very attractive.
Yes.
Carol, how's the, do you know off the top of your head how that fund is doing or that account is doing?
No, I'd have to
We
look
looked at it about
A couple months ago.
a couple months ago, and we were positive the
Yeah.
price of electricity was less than what our revenue was, which is great. But
Basically,
depreciation, I don't think was in the equation.
It was in the first pass when we first did it. We projected, because there was a grant that didn't pay for it in entirety. But we just need to update that analysis, and maybe after the budget's done, we can refresh that.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's all I have to say
It's
about
popular,
bills.
people love, I mean, people come in there, they
Yeah.
come from 5+ miles around just to charge up. Some as far as Farmington.
Wow.
They
What
ran
is
out
it
of
you
gas
need?
on their way to the charging station.
Are we not, don't we have our mics on? Okay, make
you.
sure your red dots are on, everybody.
Thank you. So that's all I have to say about the budget amendments.
Okay.
I'll shut up now.
Any other questions, comments?
I'm sorry, I just wanted to, I already explained the only thing, but for the police, also for the cameras, also in the very last one for $998,000.
That would be the first year's payment on the cameras. Because there's the body worn and there's the in-car. So there's two pieces that make up that 98.6, and that's the first year.
Yeah.
Some of that is equipment expense. It won't be, the following years won't be as much. There was some setup, and do you have everything that was involved in
Because I'm
setting the
confused,
cameras up?
with two things. I thought you pay it in full, so why are we having any debt?
They've only made 1 year payment. We're gonna have payments for 5 years.
It's an installment purchase contract.
Oh, I thought, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you were gonna pay it all, okay,
Yeah, that's the confusion.
okay.
So we had to book the whole expense because it's a capital asset, and we've got possession of the capital asset. We also had offset with a revenue because we got a loan, so those kind of wash each other at the end of the day. But we have the long-term debt.
It's allegedly an interest-free loan?
That's what they said. They said it's
That's hard to
interest-free.
Who's the loan come from?
Axon, the vendor.
So the vendor, they sold it to us, but they're lending us the money over 5 years to make the payments, but it's not a lease.
No, they said specifically, I asked. I told him
It
there was
sure sounds like a
confusion,
lease.
and he said it is a 5-year purchase. We chose to make the
It's like one of
payments,
those
so
rent-to-own shops.
it kind of depends how they really presented it.
Okay.
Okay.
Rent to own.
Rent to own.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
And it gets refreshed, but it's not a lease.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Public comment?
Did that answer your question, Mark? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, no, but I'm just thinking for the police, it should show up for the police,
Yeah,
right? For $98,000, it should be for the police.
right.
This is not for the police. It should be a different.
No, that's the
category.
account for long-term debt, so
Yeah, but it should be a different category.
this is the way you book it for accounting purposes. We can, in the back of our mind, say,
Yeah.
there's another $98,000 that belongs as a police expense, but that's not where we pay it from, because the general fund does not hold the long-term debt. We move a payment over every year into this account. It's held in account 950 for the,
Just for accounting.
it's an accounting
So it
function.
moves from the general fund
So the-
into the loan fund, or what, banking services and fees, and then it's paid to the vendor.
So Fund 950 would hold the long-term debt because general fund does not hold anything longer than a year. So then there would be an entry made every year to move the next year's payment over to this 101-901 because general fund does not hold the long-term debt.
But they didn't give us cash to
That's
make
just
the
how it
5 year-
works when you call it a loan. Technically, you could think of it as they gave you the money, you took the money, and you took it over and gave it to the vendor. So it was revenue when they handed you that money for 2 seconds and you took it to the vendor. It's just an accounting function.
I know, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Nobody said it
The
wasn't
the
weird.
auditors weighed in on it, we'll ask
All right.
again.
Yeah, they
but-
did.
But it's, makes your head hurt, but it.
That is the way you have to account for
And
it.
then they kind of duped the police department into thinking it was something else.
I don't think they were duped. I think they called it one thing.
We talked about this for 5 minutes at a budget meeting, and now we're here. Like, I need to have all the research and the information.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Krebs spent significant time on this. We've got $100,000 in a grant we wrote for this. We spent a significant amount on this, so I think we should just have due time so that we can present it. And quite frankly, I don't 100% agree with this auditor, so that's the other side of it. So,
Okay.
And I could be wrong. I'm not a financial major, but
Well, your
Thank you.
sales rep said otherwise.
Any other comments from the public?
I just want to thank
On the budget?
Carol. I'm aware that she's an 8 a.m. employee. She's in her office at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she works very hard. And you also commute and communicate with the supervisor up on the second floor, and you don't take orders from anybody else.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
she does.
not true. I give her orders all
me
day
too.
long.
And she just smiles and says, let's move on.
You communicate well with the current supervisor.
Yeah. She always did.
Yeah, she's easy to get along with.
Carol's doing a great job.
I am prepared to make a motion if that's what
Okay.
you would like.
Yeah, somebody did.
Somebody said they wanted to
Oh,
speak.
I'm sorry.
Budget.
You wanted to speak.
You gotta come to the podium. There should be
I'm
a
sorry, again, I'm
motion
Dale
or a
Burnett,
resolution.
and I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm really sorry. Carol has identified that $1,800 now is put in the budget, and what I want to alert the board to is your inclination may be to, well, since the equipment is already there, we're going to approve risen Christ for the early voting. I ask you again to look at that closely because that cost can be reduced by half or more. So just don't line item that and say, okay, we'll go ahead and do that. Please take care of our taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
And Clerk Barba, you did indicate that you
Oh,
would be
come on.
coming
It's
to us.
$150 a month.
Yeah. And to be clear, it didn't cost the taxpayers of Plymouth Township anything. The state reimbursed for all of that.
That's not the big issue, it's the 50,000.
It was paid for by the state, not by us.
It's $3 or it's $5 a day.
Yeah, it's.
Although, if it was paid for by the state, it's still taxpayers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it didn't come out of our
Taxpayers
coffers.
of the state pay for it.
Yeah.
We taxpayers.
I
Now, I
understand.
would like to put on record that my conversation with former clerk Joe Bridgman. He has said there's plenty of room behind the front clerk's office to store the machines and to host early voting. Joe Bridgman has said that.
This is
So
not
we should,
the-
no, Bob, please don't interrupt me, Bobby.
We'll
Please don't interrupt me, Bobby. I'm putting Joe Bridgman's statement on record, if you can hear me. He said there's plenty of room behind the clerk's office to store the machines and to host early
He already
voting.
said he
You
wasn't
understand what I'm
storing
saying?
Well,
Don't you get it?
Johnny,
Can you
these are
process that
not,
mentally?
this is not voting equipment, it's electronics, it's infrastructure.
Okay?
It's
There's still
installed
plenty of room.
infrastructure.
There's still plenty of room in this building.
Johnny, do you know the
We are
difference
violating a
between
basic
voting
law of
equipment
church
and-
separation of church and state. And to give one church in this community over $50,000 a year is wrong.
We're
Ethically,
going to-
morally, and legally, and we're opening, so I guarantee you, we're gonna have a lawsuit within the year.
We'll debate this
And you'll-
during.
I
the
guarantee
budget-
you, we will
during
have a
the budget.
lawsuit within a year.
And you'll probably be the
I know
one
who's gonna
pleading
file
the
it.
other side.
We'll,
Yeah, okay,
we'll
Bob.
debate this during
Your
the budget.
non-practicing law degree.
All right, do we have any other comments from anybody?
I will be happy to make a motion.
Please.
All right, here comes the motion.
I move that the Plymouth Township Board of Trustees hereby adopt Resolution 2025-07-22-50, authorizing various fiscal year 2025 budget amendments by the Finance Director or designee.
Second.
All right.
Clerk Borba, yes. Supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Trustee Buckley,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz,
Yes.
Trustee Stewart,
Yes.
Trustee Growth.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, next item, F3. This is an intergovernmental agreement, IGA, kind of a grocery store used to be called IGA.
That's right.
Anyway, with Wayne County, which will be diverting $77,000 of the millage that we pay. We pay .25 for parks, Wayne County Parks. And we have submitted a request to designate this for the refurbishment of the wood play structure. To replace that wood play structure, the estimates are $650,000 plus. So what we're going to do here is we're going to engage professionals, but we will also have some parents involved to do painting and things like that. We'll coordinate it so that we efficiently use the money. We had some opportunity to have some preliminary work done, and we were able to be ready for the grant. And what'll happen is once this is signed, approved, then the Wayne County Commission approves it, and then we can spend the money. We have a couple years to spend it, but we're looking at some things to potentially save some of the, like plastic welding, to save some of the slides that you can't buy anymore and things like that. So we're moving forward. Spalding DeDecker is here. They did some of the work also. They pulled it together with the numbers, and we had some great sketches done by some of our residents, and you can see a great history here of how we bought the land. So I recommend approval to get our decent share of money from Wayne County Parks.
I'm happy to see that we're not looking at the DIY for anything that would be questionable in terms of risk. I just want to make that comment.
Yeah, I listen to everybody. See that?
Good,
I do what I'm told.
good.
And if you guys like history, this is a very interesting documentation in here, including letters from the clerk
Yeah.
to a previous supervisor or lawyer. It just was really cool. It was like reading a museum piece and going through apparently it's part of Wayne County's requirement to submit all the documentation from how we acquired the land, known as McClumpha Park, Plymouth Township Park. So really cool.
My favorite part was the lawyer's fee was $25 an hour.
Wow.
How times have changed.
I know you guys think I knew every one of these people that signed these deeds.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I did too.
Are you ready for a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve Resolution 2025-07-22-51, authorizing the supervisor and clerk to sign the intergovernmental agreement with Wayne County for improvements to the Plymouth Township Park as indicated in the attached resolution.
Second.
Okay,
ahead, Jen.
set by Buckley?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Trustee Growth,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz,
Yes.
Trustee Stewart,
Yes.
Trustee Buckley,
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Motion carries.
All right. That's the formal agenda, so I wanted to talk a little bit about what's coming up on August 12th. One of the things, I just wanted to bounce it off of you, you can email me or you can call me, is the L Car Wash proposal it's located where the former Vic Tanny, now LA Fitness, but it's east of Burger King out here, wants to have a 1980 court agreement that restricts the property to not permit car washes. So we have the option to pursue that, and the attorney will explain here, to vacate that judgment, or we can do nothing also. The attorney can give us a little background on what the owners of the property are wanting us to do. But my understanding, and you can clarify it, is we are not required to vacate that court order.
That's exactly right. The current court order that is in place today provides that that property can only be used as a health club facility, and even then, certain restrictions on the health club facility. And it can also be used for any purpose in the old office service district. The zoning ordinance has changed since that judgment was entered. The current underlying zoning for that property would be OSARC. I've confirmed that with the planner. The owner of the property has submitted an application or had meetings with the township to attempt to vacate that judgment. If the judgment is vacated, the property should revert back to OSARC. I've asked the attorney for the property owner to include that in the proposed order. It was not in the original one. If it reverts back to OSARC, I do not believe a car wash is permitted within that district except as a special use. I'd have to confirm that. But after the property, if the board wants it to revert back to the OSARC district, the property will have considerably more flexibility with respect to prospective uses on that property. The applicant, I believe, wants to put a car wash there, which may require either a special use or a PUD. I think that's it. And we'd like to, I've already instructed the attorney for the property owner that the board would like to consider this on the 12th. And for them to have it heard on the 12th, I have to receive their paperwork by the end of this month.
So would that be the township, the board of the township that would be requesting that the judgment be set aside?
No, it's going to be a motion by the property owner to vacate the judgment. They are convinced that the other people listed in the judgment no longer have any interest in that property. That may or may not be true. I've had
One is alive.
Some of them, yeah. Most of them are passed away, aren't they?
All but one is alive, is dead.
However, they've shown why they believe that, I think it's Ms. Costanza, has no interest in that property and has no standing to interfere with any motions to vacate that judgment or change the characterization of the property. The township's role would be basically to stipulate to the entry of the order. The owner of the property has done all the legwork. They've still got more legwork to do with respect to characterizing that property as an OSARC in the order itself. It's not that complicated legally to amend what they need to do, but they need to do it by the end of the month in order for me to have it ready for the board's review on the 12th.
So they might make that deadline.
So this issue's come up to the planning commission at least twice now, isn't it?
Yes.
And there's a lot of public pushback on this, just so you know.
Well, if the property reverts back to OSARC, the applicant or the owner would still have to get board approval to put a car wash there.
Board or planning commission?
Both. Well, actually, it's board. Planning commission would make a recommendation to the board.
We could do nothing, in other words, not even bring it up as an agenda item.
Yes.
Or they would potentially
Pocket
try to
veto
sue to
it?
force you to bring it up.
They would have to.
They would file a motion, and if the township wanted
Put
to...
it on the agenda.
To rule on it?
Yeah, if the township wanted to stipulate to the motion or not stipulate to the motion, it would be heard in court. And I don't think that if the township objected to the motion, that the court would grant the relief requested. However, the board has to consider, is that property better served as an OSARC or as the current judgment restricts the property? That's a discretionary consideration for the board.
And once again,
How is the property around it zoned right now?
I believe it's OSARC.
OSARC?
Yes.
And so what was it when this happened?
Being in 1980?
Yeah.
It was OS.
Okay, so if it gets vacated, what does it go back to?
OSARC.
Because that's the designation in the corridor, Ann Arbor Road corridor.
Yes.
There is no OS
I
left.
just didn't know. I was just wondering because it was that, and then did it revert back?
It would revert back to OS. However, the zoning ordinance has been amended and the zoning map has been amended since 1980. So according to planning, the proper characterization or the proper overlay of that property is OSARC.
Well, but if it, I don't know, I think it would revert back to the old one, and then someone would have to
Rezone it?
Rezone it as the current corridor.
ARC?
That's what I think would have to happen.
There's a lot of variables in that. If the parties both stipulate for OSARC, I mean, this is, again, a discretionary consideration for the board.
Okay.
If both parties agree that it's going to be changed from judgment to OSARC, that's what's going to happen.
And ARC allows for the car wash?
Well, ARC allows for the car wash. I'm not sure if OSARC does. I can check that right now.
That's what I meant, OSARC.
So we can procrastinate on this and not bring it forward.
Yes.
So
There's no urgency if the board feels no urgency.
I didn't think of that.
So we can contemplate this, so that's why I wanted to kind of bring a little bit up here. So we can contemplate it. We want to do the right thing.
So contemplated. Next.
So, next week, I guess you want me to wait till board comments to talk about the next week's agenda, or you want me to do it now? I mean, not next week, August 12th.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to have an assessing presentation by Wayne County Assessing, which is an outside contractor we use to be our assessor. We're going to have the towing contract, maybe. Maybe, right? We don't know, but potentially.
Maybe. We've got site visits this week and next week.
Yeah, so I don't know whether we might be ready, maybe not. And then what about water and sewer? Are we going to be ready or no?
We need to be ready.
Okay, so water and sewer rate increases. All right. Any other, you want to go around the room?
Yes, go around.
Mark, any comments?
Are we doing last public comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, good point. So, yeah, we're at the public comments now, right, on any item. Any takers?
And I'll make it brief. 20,000, 50,000, whatever it takes. I applaud the fact that you're benchmarking and going out to get the third-party assessment, however it turns out. So thank you for doing that.
Good evening. Thank you for letting the citizen, oh, sorry.
Got to say who you are, write it down there.
Hi. I was getting to that. My name is Katie Barrett. I am a resident of Lake Point subdivision, and I live on Hamel Lane in the township. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to provide comments. I am here last week, or the last meeting, several of the people in my neighborhood and on my street provided some statements on the increase in short-term rentals that we're seeing in Plymouth Township, and so I just wanted to kind of give my own statement because I was unable to attend. First, I want to address the fact that we do not expect a ban.
I'm sorry, you do not what? I'm sorry.
Expect a ban. A ban.
You don't expect a ban?
No. We do not want people to ban short-term leases. We're not expecting that.
Okay.
Ban on what? Short-term lease, Airbnb.
Airbnbs.
Is this hard for me to hear? Okay.
Just talk a little slower, the reverberation
Yeah.
for some of us that have bad hearing.
Yeah, some of us are getting old and we don't hear as well as we used to. Myself included.
All right. However, we believe regulations and restrictions on short-term rentals is not an unreasonable ask. Short-term rentals are increasing nationwide, and many people who live in communities are worried about the impact this has on their neighborhoods. And although you may see it as enforcing restrictions is telling people how they should make their living. Those residing in the neighborhood see this short-term loan as a nuisance. We have safety concerns, we also worry about our property values, and we worry about the effect on community cohesion. When homes become businesses, it changes the character of the community. There are rules for operating businesses out of residence, but few for when a residence essentially becomes a business. Why can we not discuss limiting the number per street and neighborhood and the number per neighborhood? I also want to point out that when you look at who owns these short-term rentals in Plymouth and Plymouth Township, many are found to be investment companies or real estate investment companies that are not necessarily based in the city. And also there's so many that are owned by individual real estate agents, which to me seems kind of an unfair advantage for families who might be looking for these homes. Now, also, I want to point out that when my husband and I first started looking for homes, Plymouth was one of our first picks. Although downtown Plymouth was out of our price range at the time, we were still happy to find some really great homes in Plymouth Township. However, those are really few and far between. We put in multiple offers on Plymouth Township homes in several of the great neighborhoods around here, and finally a great family accepted our bid. And guess where they moved? A block over in the same neighborhood. That's the type of neighborhood Lake Point is. Families, couples, retirees. Folks who care about their neighbors and their community. The recent Airbnb in our street was the home of a man who was an original buyer, and he was a lifelong Plymouth Township resident. He raised his children there and was a teacher in Plymouth schools. And I know this is repeated by some of my neighbors, but he was a great man. And he would tell us all about the neighborhood, and he'd chat with us, and he'd sit outside in the summertime, and he always loved watching us and playing with our dogs and all of the kids. And we started to have a block party, and all of the original neighbors really enjoyed that. They were really starting to see life back on the street. What's great about our neighborhood is that we know that all the kids in the community know they can run to a neighbor for an emergency. We have our neighbors who can water our plants when we're out of town. They can let out our dogs when we're running late for work.
Already?
We can pick up groceries for neighbors who are sick.
You're going to have to speed it up because you're at the 4-minute mark already.
Okay. Well, when there's a pinch, you'll watch someone's kids. This is what's desirable, and this is why this is a community. What's not desirable is having random people come in every week. And you may not care until someone buys the home next to you. Now, there are many towns and cities with similar concerns. All we ask is for some common sense restrictions and enforcements of tax rules. Myself and some of my neighbors will continue to reach out to others in the township because with awareness, I guarantee others will have similar concerns. We cannot stop the short-term rentals, but we can prevent blocks full of businesses instead of homes.
All right, well, thank you. Who was the original owner of your house? What was his name?
Mac, McKinley, Derek, yeah, Darren.
Derek McKinley?
Yep. No, I don't think I was.
I knew a McKinley who was a teacher at Bird School. That was him?
Was he? I don't know if he was at Bird.
I don't know if he was Bird. All right.
Yeah, he passed away. He was about 90, 92.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments from the audience? No? All right. Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Ruth Harvey. I'm on the same topic. I was here last month. I gave you all a list of the 4 houses that we know of that are short-term rentals. I know.
I turned them into the assessor.
Right, and I think the lawyer was consulted. And I'm just at the meeting wondering.
2 of them were properly classified, and 1 may not be.
Good. So you're working on that? Okay. And the 4th?
The 4th looked legitimate.
Okay.
It said that the people were registered to vote there, who were the owners.
Okay.
That may be a problem if they don't really live there.
Well, you had mentioned, you noticed that one of them did not live there. So we just want you to know, and she said it beautifully, that we're concerned, and we will continue to be, waiting to hear something.
My anecdotal, non-scientific observation is most of the short-term rentals in Plymouth Township are owned by people who live here.
That's good.
That's my observation.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't have any data to conclusively make a decision on that.
Thank you.
If that's true, they should be better, they're close by, the owners, they should be actively involved in ensuring that nothing is disruptive in the neighborhood as respect for the people who live here. All right. Comments from board?
I'm all set.
All set?
Yep, good.
Jen, anything?
Yeah, just in regards to the Airbnb, I'm a mom of 8, and it's very unsettling to think of people next door just coming in week after week. I'm with you. I'll continue to look at it and try to work with the supervisor. I know he's kind of indicated already there's not a lot we can do, but there's got to be something, some kind of a
Well, you
restriction.
can pass ordinances.
Well, even just one.
We have an employee- we have an employee
I
of-
homeschool, so my kids are out all day long, and to think that someone coming in, I mean, are these people vetted? You could have a murderer that come in.
One
I'm
of your
just
kids
very
could be a
sickened.
murderer.
Or my kids are not murderers, but.
I can tell you
But
this-
it's just, like, my stomach is turning at the thought of it for you guys and the potential that we could have in our own neighborhood. So I'm gonna just continue to do some research and see what we can do.
One of our employees has, on his block, 7 Airbnbs.
Really?
Yeah? South side of Ann Arbor Road.
Oh, and Green Meadows?
Yeah. And they're all operated by somebody who's a prominent Plymouth citizen.
I know exactly who you mean.
So.
Wow.
These will be full up during the live golf on.
Yeah.
And then, just the last comment, like the animosity that I'm feeling on the board here and one particular person, I'm getting really sick and tired of it. It's not professional, it's not civil, and, it just needs to stop and show respect.
So maybe we'll have a mediation or something.
Nothing here.
Nothing here. Okay, tonight, Canton Township was planning to vote on a resolution for the Salem Township pipeline, and it is essentially the same as what we passed. There is no money being transferred from the developer or Salem Township. They're going to attempt to get some benefit potentially from Wayne County, because Wayne County got a $70 million grant for flooding that happened in August of 2023 in Canton Township. Some of you may recall when there was nearly waist-high deep water at the Coles on Ford Road. It was that incident. So they might be doing that, but they want to make it so that they can connect people who are on septic tanks when they fail to this line. But it is challenging based on the current design because the line is under pressure, which means then you have to have an injection pump to inject it into the pressurized line, which is extremely expensive. So they may revert to just using conventional gravity feed. It's all got to be engineered. Gravity feed in the same trench as the force main owned by Salem Township. It's all to be determined.
I think the key point, though, is that Salem Township and the developer absolutely refuse to provide any compensation to any of the communities for use of the right-of-way. And the Eagle was within days of issuing the permit if we didn't settle this. So we were in a position where we had really no choice. Otherwise, we would have had a wastewater treatment plant being built.
Not necessarily.
So Salem has agreed to withdraw the application.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It ain't over till it's over. So it'll be some time yet. The design will take a year. All right, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. would like to address a couple of issues. I am really very pleased that people look at our budgets, that people look at how we spend money. I think that's great, and any question is legitimate when it comes up, absolutely. I would like to refer back to my report that I did after the election, where I, by fact, showed that the vast majority of voters who vote in Plymouth Township live west of Sheldon Road, and over 60%. And if you count the people who are adjacent to it, which is Precinct 5, right next to, what we always called when I was a cop, Muddy Meadows or Green Meadows, that number's over 70% of the people live in that area. Therefore, the location of the early voting center was rational when we made that decision. The state law is not going to change. Early voting is here to stay. It's not going to change. I didn't vote for it, but the vast majority of the public did vote for it. And so we're going to have to provide a facility that meets all the criteria of the law. And the statute is very, very clear about they enumerate all the issues you have to address when it comes to locating one of these things. And we're also limited by state law of what kind of facility you can use. And so when you start making all those kind of limitations, you have to think about all of them together. You can't just pick one or another. You've got to think the whole thing in totality. And so, again, next year, we're going to have 2 elections in August and November. There will be early voting. It is required by law. We will have to have a facility that meets all of the criterias of the state law. And matter of fact, the state law, quite frankly, gives the clerk some really unusual powers in helping to have that happen. And so we're going to be obeying the law. We're always going to be thoughtful about the cost of things. Whether or not the legislature is going to foot the bill again is to be seen. This is a creation that has happened, and so I'm hoping that there will be money for it, but it's not going away. And there has to be a facility for it that makes sense to meet all the criteria. And that's what we're going to do. The budget hearings are going to be coming up here in the next couple of months. I will be making a proposal, and then it's going to be open for debate. And it's going to have to meet that criteria. So this is not done willy-nilly. It's not done for any other reason other than meeting the statutory requirements. So again, thank you very much, and I do appreciate your comments.
I would, I gotta find the real note, okay. I would like to request a copy or a date that would show me the contract between Plymouth Township and our current labor law firm. And I'd also like to see the same thing between Plymouth Township and McKenna. I think for a multitude of reasons, we need to evaluate all of our existing contracts and either rebid them or fine tune them or whatever we need to do to make sure that we are meeting the current needs of the township. And I was hoping to get an update on the current position of Canton Township because I still think that a 425 would have been a good way to go. If it's a moot issue, it's a moot issue, but I'm glad
There
to
may
see
be a
that
425 for some, if they hook up septic tank, that's
Yes.
possible.
Right. So I'm glad to know that that's still out there and it's a possibility. And I'm just going to say that I do not want to see us allow a car wash on Ann Arbor Road.
And also our condolences to you for your stepson and your sister
Thank
that
you, I
passed
appreciate
away back to back.
John?
Yeah, I want to thank the public and people who have come here tonight. Almost a 3-hour meeting. Please don't tell me something you want me to forget. I do appreciate Dale Bernhardt and Sandy Groth in indicating that they've had cursory conversations with Praise Baptist to house the electronics and the voting machines for less than $20,000. I have two very positive other comments to make. One is that Lieutenant Kudra is one of 40 assessors to certify police departments and their practices, principles, and procedures. Today, Lieutenant Kudra was at right here local, which is a benefit to all of us in Plymouth Township. He was assessing the police department and the officers at Schoolcraft Community College. The chief is well aware, and he's got Cynthia Fell, Ryan Krebs, Mike Fritz, and Dan Kudra ready to get our township recertified, reaccredited, which we must do in the next 5 months.
It's already completed.
Is it done?
Well, the work is done.
We had the on-site, 2 evaluators were here on July the 10th. We go in front of the MLAC board on September the 5th.
Okay, I'm pretty conservative. I like to see it in writing, and I appreciate your efforts. So when it's done, it's done. You know, I support you 100%. I would also notice the township attorney at one time told me that no bid contracts, have to occur for any contract over $20,000. Now, maybe he wants to, I'll give him a chance at some point in time to correct that. But $20,000, if it's above that, there must be a bid. There must be offering to take care. Now, the state of Michigan has a new building. One new building this year. It's in the Upper Peninsula. The relevance that it has to Plymouth Township is a deep-seated resentment that I have for a lack of full disclosure, and everyone up here, everyone in this room, does not want to be taken advantage of. We want to be given full disclosure. So 2 years ago, Dale Bernhardt came to me, and he wouldn't meet with the supervisor alone or anybody else up here alone, and he showed me hard evidence that the Carlo brothers' net revenue and income, 96% was from gambling and 4% was from harness racing. Our supervisor, no, he wasn't. He was Trustee Kermey at that time. Very quietly and calmly showed me Blueprint B. In the lower left-hand corner of Blueprint B was a rectangle with the word casino in it. Now, the reason that I tell you about the new building in the Upper Peninsula, brief history, Bay Mills was granted a casino in 1995. Michigan is now the state with the second most number of internet gambling transactions, mostly from right here and a lot due to sports betting. The new building that is opened west of Sault Ste. Marie is called the Bay Mills Health Center Substance Abuse Program. They are at inpatient capacity, and they are now taking outpatients, which will be paid for by Medicare, Medicaid, and Veterans Health Benefits. So in other words, it's tax dollars. This is a substance abuse center for alcohol, gambling, and opioid addiction. Who could have predicted that that would have happened with a casino that I have been in? Because the night before I gave the commencement address to 6,000 people at Lake Superior State University, the president of the university took me through the casino 15 years ago. And there were little old ladies sitting there in chairs, cranking the handle, and their hands were gray. But now it's become very prevalent in our society today. And we made national attention in the bitter cold temperatures of February when a mother of 5 drove to a parking structure in Detroit in the middle of the night and left her 5 children there. She went in to gamble to satisfy her addiction. When she came out 2 hours later, 2 of the 5 children were dead. This is a problem all across Michigan. So I ask your concern, and I'm so thankful that I'll end on a positive note. I received a phone call and a letter from Mayor Brian Turnbull. He wants to show me the daylighted river up at the Northville development. He wants to show me the first occupants who will go into the level. And I have to thank my friend Nancy Darga and there was extensive negotiations with the builder up there, what a supervisor should be doing too. They downgraded the development 3 times up in Northville. So I'm hopeful that they will have a nice development. Thank you very much and good night.
Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.